cover in closed session. You're ready to begin our joint meeting of the City Council, successor agency to the Redevelopment Agency, Public Finance Authority, the Public Utility Authority, Housing Authority, Paris Joint Powers Authority, and the Paris Community Economic Development Corporation of the City of Paris, Tuesday, February 27, 2024. Call time is 6:54. Madam Clerk, can we have roll call, please?
Councilmember Corona,
Present.
Councilmember Rabb,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Rogers,
Here.
Councilmember Nava,
Here.
Mayor Vargas.
Present, thank you. Item 3 is our invocation, which will be led by Pastor Terry Wells from the First Baptist Church of Paris. Please stand and join us. Remain standing for item 4, which will be our Pledge of Allegiance, led by Councilmember Corona.
Invite you all to pray with me. Oh, Heavenly Father, Almighty God, we stand before you tonight in the awe of your presence and all that you are of love and of goodness. Lord, we pray a special blessing, Heavenly Father, for the mayor, the councilmen and women, and all the elected officials. We also invite the presence of your Holy Spirit to reside and abide in this room. Allow your Spirit to stay here with love, with peace, with meekness and patience and faith in the elected officials and all the attendees gathered here tonight, to allow all communication to be received with clarity and and allow everybody to get understanding. Allow each and every one of us to ask the question, is what we seeking, what we are searching, what we are requesting or considering, is it just a benefit to myself or to the greater need of the population and the citizens of Paris? So just guide everybody. Allow everybody to remain peaceful. Most importantly, have the patience in everybody, and allow Paris to be the light and the beacon of how California should be. We thank you in Jesus' name. Amen.
Thank you, Pastor Wells. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Place your right hand over your heart. Ready? Begin.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Pastor. Item 5 is a report on closed session items. Mr. Koo.
Thank you, Mayor. City Council met in closed session on the items as listed on the agenda. For items A through C, no reportable action was taken. For 4 potential cases under item D, no reportable action was taken. For one of the cases, the council unanimously authorized the initiation of litigation, and the information regarding that litigation will be provided once the litigation has formally been commenced, unless to do so would jeopardize the litigation itself. That concludes my report.
Thank you. Item 6 is presentations and announcements. 6A is a presentation of a proclamation declaring Riverside County Arts and Cultural Month. I believe we have Martin De Castro from the county here present.
Hello. Hello, City of Paris, Honorable Mayor and City Council and City staff. My name is Martin DeCastro, representing the Riverside County Office of Economic Development, and we are excited to announce that March 2024 is inaugural Riverside County Arts and Culture Month. This month-long celebration aims to raise awareness and showcase the diverse, vibrant arts and cultural landscapes across Riverside County. We are thrilled to partner with cities and organizations in promoting art, education, and tourism. Each cultural destination holds its own unique treasures to discover, and participants can acquire a commemorative exploration pass by visiting a Riverside County Library Systems Branch City Library participating location. Additionally, certain participating locations will host special events on specific days, providing attendees with opportunities for engaging activities. So this is like an exploration pass, so once you guys visit a particular destination. For more information, visit rivcoartsandculture.org. So our kickoff event is happening this Saturday, March 2nd at 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. It's going to be located at the Edward Dean Museum and Gardens in Cherry Valley. Once again, thank you to the City of Paris for your support and participation in the exciting initiative. I think you guys also have a goodie bag. I think it's for you, Mayor Vargas, and to City Council to share.
Thank you.
All right.
So a few notes. The Riverside County Arts and Culture Month provides an excellent opportunity to celebrate and showcase a wide variety of artistic expressions. The Arts and Culture Month provides a platform to advocate for programs and initiatives that increases accessibility to the arts. Paris is home to a rich cultural heritage that must be preserved and celebrated for future generations. In 2019, the city developed a public art initiative to support cultural and artistic resources, including visual artwork, performing arts, and architectural resources. The initiative aims to support public art, promote the city's rich, diverse culture, and enhance public engagement and community vitality. Arts and cultural activities have the power to bring people together, fostering a sense of community and belonging. Most recently, the City of Paris hosted its first annual multicultural festival. Arts education is essential for nurturing creativity, critical thinking, and problem-solving skills for our youth. Thank you to the Riverside County Office of Economic Development for extending an invitation to unite in dedication to art, education, and enrichment. This being said, that we do hereby recognize the month of March 2024 as the Riverside County Arts and Culture Month. So we will step down, we will present you with a proclamation and take a photo.
Thank you. Yeah.
All right, Council, anybody have any comments? All right, we're good. Thanks again, sir. Appreciate it. Okay, item 7 is our Youth Advisory Committee communications. This report will be given by Kimberly Thai, our Vice President of the Youth Advisory Committee.
Honorable Mayor, members of the City Council, and City staff. Good evening. My name is Kimberly Tai, and I am honored to serve as the Vice President of the Youth Advisory Committee. Tonight, I am pleased to provide you with an update on the recent and upcoming events organized by YEC. First, get ready for an exciting event at the Statler Youth Center this Friday, March 1st, for our Open Mic Night event. This stage is set for performers to showcase their talent from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. We encourage all youth to participate and share their creativity with the community. Don't miss out on this fantastic opportunity to express yourself through music, poetry, comedy, and more. Additionally, YEC is thrilled to announce our volunteering opportunity at the Pets on Parade event on March 9th at Liberty Park from 10:30 a.m. to 3 p.m. Join us as we support this exciting event celebrating our furry friends. YSE will assist with various activities such as registration, guiding attendees, and ensuring the smooth flow of the event. Lastly, we are eager to announce our YSE recruitment and application process has started. If you're a young individual interested in civic engagement, YSE is for you. Applications can be accessed conveniently through the city website or in person at the Statler Youth Center. Don't miss this chance to make a difference. The deadline for submission is on Friday, May 31st, 2024. To stay updated on our activities and events, we invite everyone to follow us on social media at Paris YEC. Regular updates and information about upcoming events will be shared through these platforms. For any inquiries or additional details about YEC or the events mentioned today, please feel free to contact the Statler Youth Center. In closing, YEC would like to emphasize the importance of staying safe and healthy. Thank you for your attention and continued support.
Thank you. Item A is our public comment. This is the time when any member of the public may bring a matter to the attention of the mayor or the city council that is within the jurisdiction of the city council and is not listed on our agenda. We will limit this public speaking to 3 minutes per person. Madam Clerk, do you have any requests to speak?
Yes, sir. Bill Lamb.
Good evening, Mayor Vargas, members of the City Council. I'm Bill Lamb from the Southern California Railway Museum. Going back a while, in November and December, we had our Day Out with Thomas and our Polar Express. In those 2 months, we gave 60,000 people rides on our railroad. It was a good time. January and February have been quiet months. We've had the pitter-patter of some rain, but other than that, not much activity. This coming weekend, on Saturday, we are having our annual meeting where a little bit about the museum is discussed and our elections are announced. Also, it will be our semi-annual Spot Meet Day where people bring out railroad-related things to sell. And finally, it will be our Pacific Electric Day. Pacific Electric was a interurban that had 1,000 miles throughout Southern California. And at one point, we hope to bring the Pacific Electric to the city of Paris. On March 16th and 17th, we will be having Steam Fest Express. We will be having Buddy the Dinosaur from PBS on both days. We will have STEAM-themed arts and crafts, as well as science. Some of the organizations that will be in attendance will be the Temecula Valley Art League, the Western Science Center, the Riverside County Library System, Academy of Music, and one of my favorites, STEAM for Fun. And then on April 6th and 7th, we will be having our annual Behind the Scenes, where if you want, you can actually walk under a railroad car and look not from the top, but from the bottom. So thank you very much and have a good evening.
Thank you, Mr. Lamb.
Yolanda Tovar.
Can you bring down the microphone too? There you go.
Hello, Mayor and council people. I've known you for a long time, a lot of you. Anyway, I have something to say. I'm at the senior center. I'm a volunteer for jewelry. Also, I won a certificate for the Rubik's Cube. So I'm very involved with the senior center. And also, I went to the Valentine party that we had just not too long ago, and I was very upset because there wasn't enough food to go around. Thank God Mayor was there and ordered pizza for, some people that didn't get to eat. Thank you, Jesus. But anyway, there's some things that, there's so many people invited, and this is Paris. And there's people from Hemet, San Jacinto, Elsinore, and I think it should just be Paris. If there's any tickets left over, well, fine. But there was a lot of people at this event, lots of people. The gym was full. I've been in Paris all my life. I'm 78 years old, and this place was a police department before it was, down D Street. But anyway, I'm just telling you that I have been here and seen so much. I feel like I'm a founder. I've been here forever. And I just think that things need to be handled a little different. Jordan and Angel are doing a terrific job, and they got help. But things, aren't working out. There's some things like people volunteer, take stuff. Some people take too much. They say 2 items, they take 2 bags. I can't see stuff like that. It makes me very angry that why do people have to be like that? And they're not even from Paris. They come from other towns. Don't they have a senior center in Hemet or San Jacinto? That, it should be Paris first. And also, I have another little complaint. With the door for the office where Jordan and Angel are at, I think it should be in half and maybe a shelf, like those kitchen ones. Because nobody should be in that office. Nobody should walk in there. That's for the employees. Though so many people walk in, you just don't know if something could be missing. I don't like to see that where the public goes in an office. So, I just want to say that if they could keep maybe get a door that has a
Thank you, Yolanda. Appreciate those comments. Welcome. Thank you.
Jillian Menes.
Hello, my name is Jillian Menez, and I have a request for the council to take meaningful actions in regard to informing the community of the matters of the council meetings. This is important and needs to be discussed as communication thus far has been abysmal and has resulted in an uninformed population. I believe that this lack of communication and difficulty to extract information to be a primary contributing factor to the state of our town and the explosion in warehouses in recent years. A poorly informed citizen base has allowed the council to have unchecked power to rezone and approve of industrial projects for far too long, simply because we don't know what's being discussed. For example, in the expanded city council agenda, under the section describing the moratorium discussion later today, in section 12B, there's a portion detailing outreach to the industrial community, in which they were directly contacted and informed of the discussion today, and they were allowed to have their side represented in print. Mayor Vargas, per our last conversation, we established concerns over the poor communication between this council's proceedings and the community. You replied that you cannot do any more than you already are in regards to community outreach and keeping us informed. Why and how then were you able to reach out to the industrial community and not your own? Surely there is an issue when the industrial community takes precedence in information dissemination and we are left in the dark. We have to sift through 500+ page documents in order to begin to understand what's going on. This obviously, the warehouse issue, is a big issue in the city of Paris, and we are very passionate about it, and you're aware of that. So why then were we left out of the discussion? So to summarize, I want to formally request that the council take steps to discuss and implement better community outreach in regards to the issues discussed in these meetings, especially those with such direct impacts on our lives. We deserve to be better informed, and it is your job to make it happen. No more hand waving saying, we put up a marquee, there's nothing else we can do, because there is plenty that you can do. Thank you.
Thank you.
That is all.
Anybody else wishing to speak on an item that's not on the agenda?
Hi, good evening. This isn't about an item on the agenda, but I did call the city this week because I live off of Ruby Drive by the apartments in one of the blocks there. And I have talked to neighbors, the people who drive through that area, they speed like a lot in those like just residential trucks. They told me to come here and voice my opinion on it, so that's what I'm doing. I think off of Ruby Drive, if you're heading, if you were to make a left right there on that street, I've recorded it, and they're going really, really fast, and the children that live on the apartments, they play on the street. We have to go out there with like signs and things to tell people to slow down, but when we have tried to talk to them like neighbor to neighbor, it gets hostile, and I just don't, like, I think that there needs to be maybe some speed bumps leading up to the bridge that goes to the Copper Creek Park, because you guys are redoing that park, which is great. So a lot of the kids are going to be crossing the street or going over to that area. I also have a brother who has a wheelchair disability, so when he tries to go out and get the mail and things, these trucks are going so fast, and even though we have been neighborly and talked to them, they kind of just, they're like, well, we do go by the speed limit, but they definitely don't. So I just wanted to see if there is something that could be done about that, or where I can go and get further direction on that, because it's really dangerous, and I don't want it to continue and then into somebody ends up getting killed or seriously injured. Because the kids in the apartments, as well as the entire other area, they should be able to play on the street, because it isn't a giant road or a highway. They should be able to enjoy the time and ride their bikes and have a safe area to cross. So I just wanted to come and speak up about that. Thank you.
Can you state your name, please?
Carla Cervantes. I've been here before, you know me.
Thank you. Okay, item 9 is our approval of minutes. 9A is consideration to approve the minutes of the regular joint meeting held on February 13th, 2024 of the City Council and all the other agencies as listed on our agenda. Council, does anybody have any questions or comments? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve. I have a motion by Councilman Rab, second by Councilman Corona. Please call the vote.
Corona, Rab, Nava, Vargas, yes. Rogers abstain.
Thank you. Item 10 is our consent calendar item. Consent calendar items are normally enacted in one motion. The mayor or city council may remove a consent calendar item for a separate action. We will allow for public comment for 3 minutes each. Council, anybody have any comments or questions or items they'd like to pull? Okay, I have 2 items, item N and O. Those are the right ones? I'm going to pull those for a separate vote, as I need to recuse myself, as it affects the Southern California Railway Museum, and I do sit as the president and CEO of the Railway Museum, so for conflict of interest purposes, I would recuse myself. So if there's nothing else, I'll have a motion to approve items 10A, B, C, D as in David, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M. That's it. I have a motion by Councilwoman Rogers, Mayor Pro Tem Rogers, second by Councilwoman Nava. Please call the vote.
Five oh, motion approved.
Okay, at this time, I'm going to step outside the room, and I'm going to ask my Mayor Pro Tem to conduct the items N and O, and then I'll return. On just those 2 items or the other ones?
All right, before we go to items N and O, there's public comment for those items. Would you please call the speakers? Thank you.
For item 10M, Jillian Menez.
Hello again. My name is Jillian Menez. I'm speaking against Resolution 10M, in which the Operon Group wishes to build 3 more industrial warehouses in our city. I'm speaking as a member of this community and a graduate in the studies of ecology and conservation. The council's support for the development of industrial warehouses in our community continues to devastate our city's health and environment. The introduction of these warehouses has done nothing more but bring in tons of carcinogenic toxins and ravage our health. The addition of each new warehouse serves only to line the pockets of developers who care nothing about us. I implore you to please vote against this motion and make strides to end the never-ending development of the warehouses. We do not want them, and we do not need them. So please vote no.
Franco Pacheco.
I know. We've already voted on M. The mayor asked us to continue items N and O.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, we'll keep going with public comment, sure.
I'm sorry, was that you guys already voted yes on it, on all those items?
We voted yes on all items with the exception of N and O.
Oh, okay.
That's why the mayor excused himself, yes.
Well, in that case, considering that M has already been voted on, I would like to state my dissent and these warehouses that keep on popping up for the council's approval and they keep on being approved, it's bad for the city of Paris. The city of Paris once was Valleys. It was a small, quaint town, and now we're nothing but warehouses. Whenever you ask anybody in or outside of Paris, they're disgusted by it, and we should all be ashamed of that. It's embarrassing driving up and down the 215 and you see nothing but warehouses, nothing but warehouses. And you guys keep on approving them and approving them. And we really need to stop approving all these warehouses in our area. I understand there's a need for industrial and logistical centers and stuff like that, but now you guys are trying to approve them in the south side of Paris, west side, east side. There's no room for nothing else. So thank you for your time. I'll be talking again sooner.
All right, thank you. Is there anyone else for public comment?
Carla Cervantes.
Hi, my name's Carla Cervantes, and I was gonna say that this was a really bad idea, but you guys already approved it, which is really unfortunate because we do not need any more warehouses here. They are so bad for our health. They're creating so much traffic. Our infrastructure here cannot handle it. The roads are terrible, and as you can see from the rain, they're just continuing to get worse. Riding just to drive here to get groceries, you probably hit a pothole, and then we call the city, and they're like, we're gonna fix it, and it's temporary, and we have to actually put in a vote just to get warehouses to get taxed, but that is never really advertised or talked about. And so I just think that it's so wrong that you guys went and did this, in the quarters and things like that. And I'm not sure who's paying you guys to pass these or what kind of vacations they're giving you guys. I know that Vargas probably stepped out because we all know that he gets a little something from these warehouse developers. He gets to go on vacations, and it's leaked documents on Vice News and LA Times. This isn't like private information. That's just what we do know. We have been coming to these meetings and talking about the environmental impact of these meetings. Corona has told me, I don't like him, and Nava has told me, I don't like it either. Everybody except for Rita Rogers has told me, we don't like it either. It's the past administration. It's not us. It's never us. We don't like it. You guys do like it because you guys keep approving it, and it's so shameful. You guys need to really grow a spine because the community is coming here, and before you guys are saying, well, the community never comes through. We've been coming through. We've been talking about it. We've been giving you guys statistics. We've been giving you guys information, public information. This is gonna just be so hazardous, and it's gonna create so much more pollution and hazardous problems, and materials are gonna be coming in and out of here. We have over 10,000 trucks coming through this corridor every single day. We have the worst pollution, we have the worst particle pollution in the country right now, and you guys are continuing to approve warehouses? Look at me. I'm serious. What's going on? Grow a spine, please.
Thank you.
Sandy Varela.
Hi, I already know that. I just want to say my piece. I'm a stay-at-home mom. I grew up in Paris. I probably bagged her groceries. I put myself through college, and now I have 3 kids. And it's sad that I have to watch them grow up in a polluted city because you guys keep approving these warehouses. My son is right there. He has asthma. So all the pollution that these semi-trucks are creating, there's a warehouse right down the street from his school. Like, am I just supposed to keep my kids at home? It's ridiculous. You guys don't even plant native plants or any kind of admission plants that are gonna suck up the pollution. We're in a bowl. The IE is a bowl. So all this pollution is just staying here. And I want you to look at him, and I want you to see that is who is gonna be affected by this.
Thank you.
That is all.
All right.
Mayor Pro Tem Rogers, if I may chime in, could we please have staff clarify what item M was for? Because I believe there's a bit of a misunderstanding.
Yes, item M was an extension of time for an industrial project that was approved about approximately 2 years ago. So they're just coming back to, as part of the condition, they have to extend every year for the parcel map, and they're coming back here for an extension of time.
Okay, and so this is a project that was already approved. We didn't approve a warehouse this evening, correct?
We're not approving an industrial project tonight.
Yes, thank you.
All right, if we can go on now to item N.
Alex Mesa.
Yes, good evening. So as mentioned, my name is Alex Mesa, and this is regarding Measure 10N specifically, the Destination Paris project for the SoCal Railway Museum. It is my hope, in spite of coming up here to speak today, in spite of any temporary alterations to the makeup of the council due to the self-recusal of Mayor Vargas, which I understand is the appropriate thing, I hope that I could anticipate the council's decision when it comes to a resolution such as 10N. And given how many projects seem to get rubber stamped anyway, with certain discrepancies flying in our faces the whole while, I would hope that to some extent 10N is common sense, but that doesn't guarantee that we have all really fully visualized the benefits which our city can derive from these already allocated state funds. So they have been earmarked for a use which in our case encompasses the expansion of tourism, leisure, and other economic opportunities in a way which honors our history, renovates some of our infrastructure, and coincides with the doubling of the tracks on pertinent sections of the right-of-way of Metrolink's Paris Valley line. Let us not forget that when you support this resolution, you are laying the groundwork which will allow residents to once again take trips from downtown Paris to the SoCal Railway Museum at the site of Pinacate, original location of what would become the town of Paris. It would be a perfectly suitable way to further diversify our economy, as well as the impression that people across Southern California actually have of our city. People from the LA metropolitan area and other regions will be able to experience this after coming into Paris entirely by rail if they so choose. And they may leave this place actually knowing the name of Frederick Thomas Paris. Our residents will benefit enormously on a material, recreational, informational, and personal level from accepting these state allocated funds and using them for their intended purpose. Thank you.
Thank you.
That is all.
All right. Is there any public comment on number O?
Yes. Alex Mesa.
Righto. Well, yes, I'm Alex Mesa. Hi again. I support the passage of Resolution 10O because it also encompasses the same benefits which I have just had the pleasure of mentioning. It is worth bringing up that the Downtown Transit Center itself is built adjacent to the 1893 depot designed by Benjamin Franklin Leavitt, which helped secure the existence and prosperity of the town of Paris for decades to come. This depot is now one of the city's prime venues for our public events, also serving effectively as headquarters of the Paris Valley Historical Society, which also operates a museum there. Therefore, I need to speak a little more on the benefits. But I heard mention of the Pacific Electric Railroad today, and I must emphasize the value of having these old electric streetcars come into the heart of Paris with regularity. The Red Car was a fully electrified tram system over 100 years ago, which connected communities all over Southern California and served as the beginning for countless of our existing cities. I mean, Watts was hardly a twinkle in anyone's eye when they first started putting up stations down there. From Santa Monica to San Bernardino, from Redlands back to Riverside and Corona, people commuted and traveled and relied on these cars for their daily lives alongside other transit options. But the original right-of-way of the Pacific Electric in urban LA was deliberately replaced with the freeway system, which we all seem to enjoy so very much. Paris is a refuge for train sets like these. Let the residents of Paris and of all of California come here to see them. Let them take note. Let them take inspiration from them regarding how we could mitigate some of our personal transit woes and also our chronic problems with the impact of entirely automobile-based logistics. I just ask that you all vote to accept the $1 million for these purposes found in Resolution 10-0, just as I ask that you will vote to accept the $7 million provided as mentioned in Resolution 10N. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any additional public comment?
That is all.
I'm now closing public comment. Mr. Q, can we take N and O together, or do we need to take them separately?
We should take them separately as separate motions.
Okay. I'd like to entertain a motion for item number N.
Okay. All right.
All right, we have a motion by Malcolm Corona and a second by Councilwoman Maricela Nava. Now we will now vote.
Corona, Rab, Rogers, Nava, yes. Vargas, recuse.
That motion passes. Now we will go to item number O. All right, we have a motion by Councilwoman Maricela Nava and a second by Councilmember David Starr Rabb.
Corona, Rab, Rogers, Nava, yes. Vargas, recuse.
Item number O passes also, and the mayor can now return to the podium. We're now on item 11.
All righty, moving on to item number 11, our public hearings. 11A is consideration to adopt proposed resolution number next in order approving a substantial amendment to the 2019-2024 five-year consolidated plan and fiscal year 2023-2024 annual action plan to reallocate $104,047.87 of unspent community development block grant CDBG funds from fiscal year 2023-2024 annual action plan to an eligible activity in the fiscal year 22-23 annual action plan. This will be introduced by our Director of Economic Development, Michelle Ogawa.
Good evening, Mayor and members of the council. I'd like to introduce our Principal Management Analyst, Dr. Sarah Cortez de Pavon, to present this item.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor, members of the City Council, and city staff. The item before you today is for the CDBG program substantial amendment to the five-year consolidated plan. Just some background, as the consolidated plan, as you know, is a five-year planning document which outlines the activities that the city wishes to conduct over a five-year period. Every year, we bring forth to you an annual action plan which details what everything will be done for that specific year. A substantial amendment to the consolidated plan is required when funds budgeted into the action plan will be moved from one eligible activity to another in an amount greater than 50% of the receiving activity's allocation, or if that project or activity does not currently exist in the action plan. This reallocation does constitute a substantial amendment to the consolidated plan. HUD does emphasize the timeliness of expenditures. This test is conducted 60 days prior to the end of the fiscal year, so approximately May 1st. This test is done on expenditures, not on obligated funds. We are not allowed to have 1.5 times our allocation in our line of credit, and HUD will and can withhold future grant funds. As of today, our timeliness ratio is at 1.84. This is down from when HUD did run our timeliness test last year. And at this point, the city does only require to spend $305,208 from the $1.3 million identified in its initial letter to the city when we did not meet our timeliness test last year. Therefore, staff has identified a total of $104,600 of funds eligible to be reallocated. The recommendation from staff and requested action is that City Council approve the reallocation of $104,600 from the unspent budget required to meet timeliness. I know the staff report does incorrectly say that it's $104,047.87, but that was an oversight. The actual amount is $104,600. This concludes my presentation. Be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Dr. Council, anybody have any questions or comments before I open up the public hearing? Okay, seeing none in the queue, going to open up the public hearing at 7:36 p.m. Madam Clerk, do you have any requests to speak?
No, sir.
Anybody in the audience wishing to speak at this time? Okay, we'll close the public hearing at 7:36. I'll call for a motion on the resolution. I have a motion by Councilwoman, Mayor Pro Tem Rogers, second by Councilman Corona. Please call the vote.
Five oh, motion approved.
Thank you. Item 12 is our business items. 12A is consideration to receive and file and provide direction regarding the Alice Avenue Evans Road Extension Project and the I-215 Interchange Feasibility Study. And this will be introduced by our city engineer, Mr. John Porcozimi.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the City Council. This item before you, just as a background, our general plan shows a extension of Ellis Avenue to San Jacinto Avenue with an interchange overcrossing I-215. And in concurrence with that requirement, we conditioned one of the development applications in the city to appropriate certain funds for us to conduct that study, initial feasibility study for that overcrossing and/or interchange. And in May of last year, Council, we selected a consulting firm, EXP USA, to conduct a feasibility study for that overcrossing. And Mr. Syed Reza, tonight he's here before you to present that item.
Thank you, John. Appreciate it. Honorable Mayor, council members, my name is Syed Raza with EXP USA Services. I will present the results of Ellis Avenue Evans Road Extension Project feasibility study prepared for the city. A little background about the project. Is somebody going to move the slides? Or I can do it? Okay, I can do it from here. Thank you. A little background about the project. Ellis Avenue ends on either side of I-215. The closest interchange to the north is at Redlands Avenue, State Route 74 west, and at State 74 east to the south. The distance between the interchanges is 2.8 miles. There is no other crossing over I-215 between the two interchanges. This results in out-of-way travel to cross I-215, increases response time for emergency vehicles, is inconvenient to residents, businesses, and increases congestion at the interchanges. This slide shows the 4 alignment developed for Ellis Avenue, Evans Road to cross I-215. Alignment 1 is in purple. Alignment 2A and 2B are in red. Alignment 3 is in blue. And alignment 4 is in green. Alignment 1 connects Ellis Avenue to Evans Road. However, it impacts RCA conservation land and requires an additional bridge over Paris Valley storm drain channel. Alignment 2 and 2B in red requires only one bridge over I-215 and does not impact RCA conservation land. Alignment 2A intersects San Jacinto Avenue just west of Paris Valley storm drain channel, while alignment 2B intersects San Jacinto Avenue across from Murrieta Road. Alignment 3 connects Ellis Avenue on either side of I-215, but will require an additional bridge over San Jacinto River and will not be perpendicular to I-215, making it difficult to add ramps. Alignment 4 in green connects Ellis Avenue to Dunlap Drive, but will require 2 additional bridges over San Jacinto River and is at the boundary with Riverside County. So this slide discusses the benefits of adding an overcrossing. It will improve traffic circulation within the city, balance traffic flows across various corridors, relieve congestion at adjacent interchanges and local streets. It will reconnect communities on either side of the freeway, which has been cut off by the freeway. It will reduce response time for first responders and emergency vehicles and provide opportunity for multimodal improvements, including pedestrians, bicycles, transit, and other facilities. This slide shows the capital cost for the 4 alignments that I discussed earlier. As you can see, it ranges from $55 million to $111 million, with alignment 2A being the least expensive. Next steps. With City Council approval tonight, the environmental and design phases are scheduled to begin in spring 2024, with completion scheduled for spring 2027. Construction is scheduled to begin in summer of 2028, and construction completion scheduled for summer of 2030. That concludes my presentation, and I will be happy to answer any questions.
Councilor, may I have any questions?
Sorry, Mayor, and just to expand on this, the cost that is provided in the staff report is a preliminary cost estimate. We would have to further evaluate the costs. There's no specific topography analyzed at this time, so earthwork, acquisition of right-of-way, those are still pending. But however, this cost estimate that is provided in the staff report is very preliminary at this stage. And then the next step, as Syed just expressed, again, is if City Council directs staff to proceed with the further stages of development of this crossing, which would be initially we would have to conduct an environmental impact analysis because it would require a general plan amendment in order for us to proceed with the crossing as opposed to the interchange. Again, we're open to any questions that Council may have.
Before we start, can you switch back to the slide that has all the different options? There you go. All right, Council, anybody want to start?
Yes.
Councilman Corona?
So all we're deciding is just where it's going to cross, right?
At this stage, correct. We analyzed few crossing locations, interchange as well as crossing, and the recommended location is a crossing at either alignment 2A or 2B.
Okay, so I do agree.
Otherwise-
I do agree with that. I mean, it should be a crossing 2, I guess, if you want to call it that. I know it's still too early, but it does make sense to be aligned with the Murrieta Road, because Murrieta is a, kind of a major road in our city, and it'll create it right down. If you had to go to 2A, is that
That would be
it
kind
just
of.
dead ends there? Is that?
Correct, it'd be a T intersection.
Yeah.
At this
yeah.
stage, yeah.
Yeah, I don't agree with that. I think Murrieta would be a logical choice. That's all the comments.
Again, this is for discussion and of course some direction if the city council chooses staff to proceed.
So,
Is it?
just for clarification, 2B is the one for Marietta Road?
That is,
Correct.
that is correct.
Is that what it said, 2B?
2B, correct.
Yes.
I said 2B now. Okay.
Sorry, alignment 2B lines up with Murrieta Road and is shown as a dash line.
Gotcha. Thank you.
The one you said you liked. Yeah. Councilwoman Alva?
Thank you, Mayor. I have a question in regards to the way that they're listed. Is alternative one per se the best choice and then fourth the least, or is there no particular order in how they were presented?
That is correct. There's no particular order. We just recommended the best alignment, the cheapest, the easiest. And it would actually, with this alignment, we'll be able to not impact the sensitive areas as far as environmental and/or flooding issues.
Anybody else? Councilman Reb?
Yes, I'd just like to echo Councilman Corona's concerns, or just preference to alternative 2B. I think aligning it with Murrieta Road creates a synergy. I think alternative 1, we'd have to acquire conservation land, which I think would be a hard push, just given all the issues that we've had with other projects in that area. So I think I'm in favor of 2B followed by 2A for the two projects.
Anybody else for open up public hearing or public comment?
No, sir.
We don't have none? Anybody wishing to speak on this item?
I'm sorry, yes. Jason Keller.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor, council members, and staff. I'm Jason Keller with Mission Pacific. We're the landowners and developers of the Park Bus project that's just on the east side of the Paris Failure Storm Drain, the proximity of where you're looking at these alignments. We've reviewed the staff report and the feasibility study, and we want to go on record tonight that we agree with staff's recommendation of alternate 2, and we prefer the alignment 2B. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else?
John Langford.
Good evening, Mayor Vargas and City Council members. My name is John Langford. I'm a representative of Paris Property LLC, who is the landowner of the property east of the 215 and impacted by the proposed overpass and alignment. We are developers who have owned this property for many years and are currently looking at many different uses for the property. We are in agreement and support with staff of Alternative 2 and strongly favor Alternative 2B in the provided feasibility study. It is important to us that we look at this from the overall city standpoint and not just our benefit. With that in mind, Alternative 2B seems best from an area-wide circulation standpoint. In addition, 2B allows us more opportunity and flexibility to develop our property. And the way that 2A cuts through the property leaves a very long and narrow area that severely restricts how the property can be used. And while 2B does cut through the property, it leaves reasonably sized developable areas that can be utilized. Our engineer is here to answer any technical questions if you have any, and we just want it to be known that Alternative 2B is our strong preference. Thank you.
Thank you.
Michael Ramirez.
IT, can you bring back the slide with the overall? Thank you.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor, esteemed council members, and hardworking city staff.
The city, we're already a member of your community. We have 3 or 4 locations that we're looking to open. And as the owners of Beyond Food Mart and related entities, they're the owners of the 37 acres on the northeast corner of Murrieta Road in San Jacinto. So our interest in this property is very, very important. We've been working with city staff for at least 2 years to try to identify what the alignment was going to be on that roadway. And so we're very, very happy to be here in support of Alignment Design 2B. We feel that the impact on Murrieta Road to the north, which fronts our property, is going to serve us in an ability to bring in a nice mixed-use commercial and residential project for the community. So thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Ana Gonzalez.
All right, good evening, Mayor, Council, staff, and community. Ana Gonzalez, representing the Center for Community Action and Environmental Justice. I want to thank staff for bringing this up for discussion. However, we are very concerned about this item. I understand the background. We're trying to alleviate traffic and circulation and bring in multimodal opportunities for the city. However, in our experience as looking at projects like these, it always turns out that multimodal means truck routes. And so we are very concerned that this may be the potential case. So although we're not taking any position on this item, we just wanted to address those concerns. Also, there's been a lot of conversations at the California Transportation Commission, CalSTA, Caltrans. When cities and counties are bringing projects like these, we need to consider more mass transit or public transportation options instead of creating more car-dependent infrastructure. Because what's happening throughout the state is that we're running out of funding mechanisms to fund the maintenance of roads and crossings and stuff like that, because we're making it more and more the incentives that we're creating when we're doing these types of projects are bringing more cars and more trucks, which don't create safe environments because of the pollution, the emissions. We know we still have a long way to go for electrification, but even if we do, in the perfect world, have 100% electric vehicles and semis and all of that, we're still stuck with the road degradation and the city's responsibility to maintain the roads. So my question, I guess, to you as you're looking into this, where are you going to get the funding to maintain the roads in perpetuity? And what options are folks going to have for less car dependency and more public transportation? And also make sure you work with RCTC, Caltrans, CalSTA in regards to funding when it comes to public transportation opportunities, and make sure you take those into consideration, because from the prior comments that I heard, this actually benefits developers and landowners rather than what's the best option for the community. So I want to make sure you guys have that in mind. Thank you.
Thank you.
Joaquin Castillejos.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council, staff, and community. My name is Joaquin Castillejos. I am an organizer with the Center for Community Action and Environmental Justice, and I'm here to give comment on item A for business item A. Just a quick comment. I read the item, and it shows that this study was 100% funded by IDI Logistics. And I'm just wondering, is this project for the interest of the community or for developers? While we could hear talks about having a potential of mixed use, having a potential of residential and commercial, even the land that's zoned for that is being turned into industrial. So what is the reality that will happen? In my experience, whenever there's projects like this to improve infrastructure, it's to up the market price of these warehouses, where now they could put into their descriptions, oh, we have this exit right off the 215, and that's how they market their warehouses so they could get more money. So developers are gonna do what they can to make money, and this is a plot to make money. It's potentially a plot to make money. So I'm asking the city council staff to really take into consideration the voice of the community. And, I don't know who came up with these options, if there was any community feedback that led to these suggestions. But if there's a possibility to extend this and have community meetings where community members, residents of Paris, are able to give comment and voice their concerns or opinions on what this should look like. Thank you.
Thank you.
That is all.
Anybody else wishing to speak on this item?
Good evening, Honorable Mayor, members of the City Council, and city staff. My name is Lupe Gomez. You know me as a planning commissioner for the City of Paris, but today I am using my voice as a resident of the City of Paris. I was reviewing the proposed research that has been presented to that was presented to the public, and I actually did some research of my own, so I would like to share that with you all today. Not sure what my time is, I don't see it on there, but if someone, there you go, thank you for keeping me honest. So I did reach out to a traffic expert, a very good friend of mine who also lives in the city of Paris, the county of Riverside. I was very pleased to hear that Mr. Syed is very well known for his traffic studies, so that brought a lot of comfort and reassurance to this project. The one thing that I do find is a concern, and the City Council should consider, is if this proposed traffic is, instead of having a crossing, can we consider the benefits of it bringing needed commercial development to this area? We understand that there may be future proposals for industrial in this area, but this is a commercial area as it is. Understanding that a crossing does bring some benefits, but an interchange would probably attract more of those businesses that we are looking for in this city. Let's see. I believe that the City Council should also consider in requesting that or providing a condition to into making a decision to move forward is while making it an interchange and creating a relationship with Caltrans, at the same time considering that it not become a truck route in the future. There are other areas in the City of Paris that can be considered because we do have the truck traffic, but at this point, it needs a way to get out, right? It's going through the streets because the truck routes that we have at this time are not efficient enough. And so having that consideration, there are other alternatives, such as in the past, we have had the Ethernet crossing, if I am not mistaken, that was considered at one point, which I believe would also be an alternative as a truck route to be established at the same time that this crossing or potentially interchange can be as well approved and moved.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Hello, as a City of Paris resident, I would like to agree with some of the previous speakers that if this project does get approved, that all the surrounding areas and kind of restrict it from becoming an industrial warehouse alley, just like how 215 going towards Riverside is, and restrict the trucks coming through there. Thank you.
All right, council discussion.
Mr. Mayor, if I may?
Yes.
Before we proceed, I do want to note for the record that the City Council rather, the city received an email from a Brian Karras showing support for staff's recommendation. It's on the dais for the council. Just want to note that for the record.
Thank you. Council, anybody for discussion?
I have a comment.
Councilman Corona? Rab, I'm sorry.
Yes, I'd like to thank all the speakers for speaking. While they were speaking, they brought up a very good point. I was thinking, if we do go with alternative 2B, I would just like traffic control measures, because if you get to Murrieta, if there's any kind of, say, truck or car traffic going north on Murrieta, you have Patriot Park, then you pass Patriot Lane. There's a little bridge we put in about 7 years ago that crosses over to Skyview Elementary, so I just don't want cars rushing down that, because they already rush down it now at the time. In terms of this map, just want to confirm that the site where the green is on Case Road, just to the south of that, is that the Metrolink station?
Councilman Rapp, the black line that you see as the alignment on, that's actually the.
The railroad spur.
rail-
Yeah, I was talking a little bit further south, so like you see
That
that
is-
little triangle, the little parking lot thing, that's the Metrolink station, right?
That is correct. So that little green area that you see south of that is the Metrolink station.
Okay. Are there any plans possibly to make another side road? I see that we'd have to cross over a channel so that the cars coming could have easier access to the Metrolink station.
That hasn't been evaluated. Again, this is just the point of where we may be able to have a crossing. The connections, the alignment and all that is still subject to reviews, environmental reviews. If so, council chooses or direct staff to proceed with this. Okay. And of course, we would have to seek funding in order for us to do the environmental studies.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else? Councilwoman Nava?
So this was funded through IDI Logistics. Who or what is the next source of funding if this moves forward?
We haven't allocated any funding mechanism for this at this time. Again, this is just a feasibility study to present to council and get direction from council on the alignment and whether to further expand or proceed with the next phases of this study.
Thank you. And as public comment speakers mentioned, is there a way to designate or de-designate a route to not allow any truck traffic before it's even implemented? So for this interchange, would we be able to consider that?
Again, at this time, we're only looking at the connection to satisfy our general plan requirements.
Understood. Thank you.
If I may, Councilwoman Nava, this interchange or crossing is really intended to allow any truck access to get onto Case Road, to keep traffic off of San Jacinto. So that was one of the requirements to make sure that there is no truck traffic going up north. But we can look at it in the future if there's a need. So.
Anybody else? Okay, so we're looking for consensus here. Robert?
The council can provide direction via consensus or can make a motion if that would be easier. So I think the simplest way would be to just make a motion with a direction appended at the bottom. Or
Okay,
appended.
it's the pleasure of the council.
I'll make the motion
For which plan?
for the Murrieta one, 2B.
2B? So
I think we're all in
Councilwoman,
agreement on that alignment would be the most appropriate.
all right, the motion from Mayor Pro Tem to go with 2B. Is there a second? I'm sorry, Councilman Corona? Call the vote, please.
Five oh, motion approved.
Thank you. 12B is a moratorium discussion related to industrial project rezoning and/or industrial land use development restriction. This has been introduced by our Development Services Director, Kenneth Fung.
Good evening, Mayor and members of the City Council. Just to give you a quick background on the January 30th, 2024 City Council meeting, Councilmember Nava requested a discussion on a potential industrial moratorium on rezoning land to facilitate industrial buildings, including potential options. Staff did some initial research, and a moratorium on rezoning is not permissible, but there are options for moratorium, which we'll identify later on in the presentation. Just for some background, we had an industrial moratorium discussion back on January 25th, 2022. As a result of that discussion, Council directed staff to prepare a impact analysis studying air quality, diesel, health risk assessment, noise issues, those impacts related to industrial in terms of this Paris and for the region. As a result of that study, there was a conclusion that we should proceed and do a good neighbor guidelines for industrial developments, adjusted for the fact that we have a significant number of industrial projects in the city of Paris. As a result of that discussion, we proceeded to move forward with the Good Neighbor Guidelines. Some of the outcome of that Good Neighbor Guidelines include maintaining a minimum distance from sensitive receptors. We required a LEED certification for projects over 400,000 square feet. We made sure that trucks, new project would orient their truck doors away from residential areas. Plus, we implemented a mitigation fee for off-site tree planting beyond the project boundaries. So those are some of the notable changes that were made. In terms of where we're at today, there are still undeveloped remaining industrial zone land in the city. In the north, it's approximately 10% of vacant industrial zone land. In the southern area, there's about 30% remaining. Just in terms of the number of industrial projects in the city of Paris, currently there's 26 applications. 10 of those 26 applications involves a land use change. The table to the right of you identifies in purple those 10 industrial projects. Of all the projects that's in process right now, it's almost 15 million square feet that's currently in the entitlement process. This exhibit here just kind of highlights to you what's in the northern area, which I consider generally north of Nuevo Road. The legend to the right of you shows approved industrial projects, which is highlighted in green. Projects that have already existing and are under construction is highlighted in blue. Projects in process is highlighted in yellow, and then the projects that involve the zone change is highlighted in purple. And the right table just summarizes to you the number of projects completed, number of projects in construction, projects in plan check, and projects in the process. If we approve all of these projects one day in foreseeable future, if those are all approved, it could total approximately 55 million as of all the current applications in process and approved so far. This exhibit just highlights to you the southern area of Paris, which kind of what I summarized earlier to the north, the different color coding. In terms of the moratorium discussion, the moratorium wouldn't apply to vested projects, which would be considered projects that are already approved by the Planning Commission or City Council and that have started construction. They would also not apply to projects with development agreements because all the projects with the development agreements have some stipulations that moratorium wouldn't apply to them. In terms of what can be considered for a moratorium, I'm just going to highlight those topics for you for discussion towards the end of my presentation. One could be types of industrial project. We want to apply to just warehousing or distribution centers. Number two is the question of the projects they can apply to. Maybe the square footage, maybe it's over 50,000 square feet. That's just a number that's thrown out there. It could also apply to properties that are proposed to be for industrial, but that's not zone industrial. It could apply to those. And then the fourth question is, what stage would the moratorium apply to? Is it they file an application? It could be that they've be deemed complete, which means they've kind of addressed all the secret issues, addressed all the traffic-related issues. The fourth option is to say, hey, the projects have already completed the secret documents. The fifth option is to say, hey, they've already started the ER document and they're going out for the secret review. In terms of how to move forward with the moratorium, this is for discussion, but if The council directs staff to move forward a moratorium. If we come back here with a moratorium ordinance, it will require a 4 or 5 vote for it to pass. The moratorium would be effective initially for 45 days and extended for possibly up to 22 months and 15 days. Staff, as a recommendation, does not recommend we apply the moratorium to projects that are already entitled and approved by the Planning Commission and City Council. But in summary, if we wanted to move with a moratorium, and we would just to say the projects that are still vacant and that are available for new application, the moratorium could possibly apply to 10% of the remaining land as I identified to you earlier in the northern area and about 30% in the southern area. As of the rent report that was disseminated last week, we did receive a letter from NAIOP, which is the National Association of Industrial and Office Parks, which represents the Inland Empire. They're suggesting that we don't move forward a moratorium. They believe that we've already did an analysis and that we implemented a good neighbor guidelines for industrial. We have also received today 55 emails asking the council to pursue the moratorium so we can put a pause on industrial. And those emails were on your dais. So in conclusion, city staff recommends the city council receive and file. And secondly, city staff requests the council to provide direction to staff regarding the industrial moratorium, including project criteria in which the moratorium apply, and we can bring back to that list if you want to go back to that list, and we can you can give us direction on that. And that concludes my presentation.
Thank you. Council, do we have any quick comments or questions before I open up the public comment?
Just a question regarding.
Councilman Rab?
Yes, just wanted to inquire as to how many public comment cards we have today. Ask the mayor if there's any way we can call 3 to 4 names so people can make their way to the front to help expedite the
Yeah.
meeting.
Anybody else have any comments or questions? All right, Madam Clerk, let's call 3 at a time. If the first person to speak, please approach the podium. The other 2, please stand to the side so you're ready, or can you have a seat? There's 2 seats available in the front to my left. Your right.
Jerry Sepulveda, Franco Pacheco, Carla Cervantes.
Good evening, I'm Jerry. Good evening, Honorable Mayor, council members, and staff. I'm Jerry Sepulveda, the president of the Paris Valley Chamber of Commerce. I'm here with a critical message regarding the proposed moratorium on industrial development within our city. It is imperative that we approach this matter with utmost care, fully understanding the potential implications on our economy, job market, investment opportunities, and most importantly, the well-being of our community. Allow me to direct your attention to the invaluable insights provided by the study conducted by Cadence Environmental Consultants in July 2022, commissioned by the City of Paris. This study, which delved into air quality, greenhouse gases emissions, and environmental noise conditions, shed light on the environmental considerations associated with various types of developments. It's crucial to note that according to this study, a 750,000 square foot warehouse generates significantly less greenhouse gas emissions and noise pollutions compared to equivalent commercial or residential developments on the similar footprint. Moreover, industrial projects attached to existing regulations and guidelines such as the Paris Good Neighbor Guidelines, the GNG, pose minimal threats to air quality or public health. The implementations of the Paris GNG in January 2022 reflects the city's proactive stance in managing industrial development responsibly, ensuring the potential impacts are thoroughly evaluated and mitigated. Enacting a moratorium on industrial development, particularly in light of the Paris GNG, would not only be redundant, but could also adversely affect our city's economy and job creation efforts. Large-scale warehousing plays a significant role in generating crucial sales tax revenue, vital to the city financial health and its ability to provide essential services. Oh, I'm doing good. Okay. Furthermore, it's essential to recognize that a moratorium should only be considered in the presence of a current and immediate threat to public health, safety, and welfare. With the firm regulations already in place, no evidence suggesting such a threat from industrial uses, there is a legal basis for enacting a new moratorium. In conclusion, I urge the City Council, along with the Paris Valley Chamber of Commerce, to carefully weigh the environmental, economic, and legal ramifications of the proposed moratorium on industrial development. Instead of imposing restrictions that could hinder economic growth and job creation, let us continue to collaborate to ensure that development in Paris remains sustainable and beneficial to our community. And I would like to just go on record for the Paris Valley Chamber of Commerce that please, we urge, like I mentioned before, just to, we don't need a moratorium, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. Just continue working with the industry as what you guys have been doing. You guys have strict guidelines for a reason. And so thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Hello, City Council members. I'd like to start off by stating another study that we should be looking at is the one for Mark Tejano for the air quality of our area. It states that we have one of the worst air quality in the state and in the country. So I came here today to continue the residents' fight to voice our opposition to the continued expansion on mega warehouses in our city. We have seen an increase in warehouse development in the area for some years now, and the effects have been disastrous. Just to name a few that independent and government studies find that we do not have the infrastructure to continue the expansion of diesel and heavy-duty trucks in our area, an increase in pollution both from the actual facilities and the trucks that have come out of them. I have multiple conversations with members of the council, including Mayor Vargas, about stopping the warehouse developments. All I get is excuses on why we can't act or mitigate these projects. I'm tired of hearing elected representatives blame past administrations on the inactions of today. This is why you were elected to office, to improve the city and its residents, not to sell it out to mega warehouse corporations for almost nothing in return, but the bare minimum. We can take examples from cities that have stopped this rampant overtaking of vacant lands for the purpose of warehouse development, examples of Jurupa and Woodcrest, just to name a few. Paris used to be a small, quaint town that was either known as a beautiful valley in the spring or a nice lake to go to spend the day. Now, if you ask anyone in or out of Paris, they say, oh, that place with all the warehouses? Every day on my commute to my job in Riverside, I pass by a string of warehouses, which now it is actually faster for me to take the streets because traffic has gotten that bad. I cannot get out of this area on the freeway. I am ashamed, embarrassed that Paris has become an ugly block of warehouses that strip us of all what we could be. The pastor that spoke earlier this meeting, his words moved me. Let Paris be all it could be. Let's consider and do what is in the best interest of our community. In my and many residents' view is that to stop any new warehouse development in the community is in the best interest of the community of Paris. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Carla Cervantes. I've been coming to meetings to discuss my concerns about the overwhelming expansions of warehouses in the city of Paris. I was really glad to see that a moratorium was introduced by the one with an actual spine, Councilmember Nava. This moratorium to stop the continued rezoning of land specifically for industrial use and for even more warehouse expansion is really a great idea. It's a step forward in the right direction. I'm not sure if it's to save face, but regardless, you all have a responsibility to us, your constituents, in making decisions that will impact us, and these decisions should better us as a whole and not just better warehouse developers and corporations' pockets. Our area has the worst particle pollution and ozone pollution in the entire country. Warehouses don't pay a livable wage. That's why it's so easy to get a job there. They discourage unionizing. People who are elderly or disabled cannot and should not have to work intense labor jobs at these warehouses. The only argument that I have heard is that they create jobs. But look at the jobs that they create. They are not sustainable. It's an insult to us that these are the only types of jobs that are being considered. It's an insult to our youth because we're pushing them to pursue college and education just for their hometown to have jobs like that is nothing to do with their fields. It's just warehouses. They're being built next to schools and neighborhoods when there are multiple studies that show the effects of diesel emission caused by the tens of thousands of trucks can lead to a staggering number of health problems, including asthma, respiratory illnesses, higher risk of heart disease, birth defects, and an increased risk of cancer. This is just the beginning. We do not know yet how bad this is going to harm us. And what's frightening is that what the previous speakers had said was that we have to wait until it's actually dire and needed. We need it right now. We have over 15% of the nation's warehouses in our county. We shouldn't wait until the need is extremely dire. It is already heading to that direction right now. Every member of this council, except for Rita Rogers, has replied to emails or conversed in person. They said they don't want warehouses either, but that it was past admin officials that approved them. I ask that you stay true to your word and your oath as public servants and do what's in the best interest of our community. We need action in the right direction. We can make these valleys beautiful instead of giant, ugly cement blocks that bring crime. They harm our environment, they harm our health, they harm our property value. I really hope this moratorium leads to further action to protect our health and our right to clean air for everyone and for generations to come. In our little historical town, we want to see it beautiful. I know you have the power to make positive changes that are crucially needed, and I urge you to do so. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sandy Varela, Alex Mesa, Ana Gonzalez.
Good evening. More warehouses are going to bring pollution, increased heat, traffic, and health and safety issues both in the workplace and our communities. The City of Paris approved warehouses next to school, and that is only going to increase the health and safety of our children. Paris was and could still be in a unique position to support conservation projects of the non-industrial lands that are still available in Paris to promote carbon sequestration, create access to natural land sites in Paris for hiking and promoting a healthy life, and protect the quality of the air. The city did an amazing job with the landscaping at the Enchanted Hills Park by using native plants and trees. This should be the standard for any further landscaping efforts in the city. I ask you, as a resident, a mother, and a neighbor, to vote yes on this moratorium. That way that we can put more regulations on the industrial parks that are moving into our city, and so our kids can grow up healthy and happy.
Thank you.
All right, well, my name's Alex Mesa, again, just to get that out of the way. I mean, it's kind of hard to know exactly where to begin with something like this. Of course, issues like the roads, you know, being compromised by our automobile-reliant logistics, I mean, that's an issue, but whether or not that's going to, you know, be the thing that motivates us or stirs us to some kind of action or greater sympathy, I'm not counting on that. That truck stop on, you know, Ethanak, you know, off the corner of Trumbull. Have we been on Ethanak lately? Have we been on Trumbull lately? I mean, you know, we're basically blowing ourselves back into the Stone Age with how many trucks we have on these roads. And as far as all the criticism, you know, against Resolution 12B, Resolution 12B presents a moratorium which ideally will be centered on the restriction of certain industrial uses of properties which are zoned industrial. It shouldn't be an outright ban on the development of those hitherto or currently vacant properties with the construction of any industrial buildings. To the contrary, it should be acknowledged Paris is already home to a variety of industrial businesses whose operations provide good employment. They bolster us economically and materially, while usually relying more on rail freight than on our grossly overburdened roads. Think of AOC Resins, think of Grove Lumber, which is embarrassingly within earshot of that not-so-little Ethanak truck mall that we have approved. But in any case, it's these non-warehouse industrial businesses whose ingenuity, whose goods production, and whose employment opportunities are the right fit for a Paris that wants to move on and beyond being merely the tool shed watershed of Riverside County. I know that our beautiful valley's farming past is buried in non-disclosure agreements older than any of us here. Our water is still escaping us beneath our feet, and I won't say any more for fear MWD will hear me. But I have heard individuals on this council call our city too mediocre for anything better than the fate of fetching toys for other cities. I would be so offended if I actually believed you. But you cannot offend me with that. When it comes to today's measure, I have to say, I know that the sickest thing is the lack of self-awareness and the overabundance of self-entitlement from developers who have swaggered in here this evening boasting in a falsely discreet way about how this whole thing was obvious theater and the outcome is a given anyway. You're only doing this to appease certain people who haven't gotten the memo, right? No fireworks today, right? Letting it all out in front of me like I'm worse than a dog, like it doesn't matter what I overhear and it never will. That arrogance tells me more about the relationship of these shysters to the unseen operations of the council more than anything. You know, you should spend less time letting pompous people schmutz you, wine you, dine you, take you to Holiday Inn, act like an elected official and not a sugar baby, and punish their arrogance that I've already overheard today.
And Ana Gonzalez, representing the Center for Community Action and Environmental Justice, in full support of a land use moratorium. As we heard from staff, looks like it goes against the moratorium rules. However, I want to turn your attention to municipal law, which begins with the premise that a city has the police power to protect the public health, safety, and welfare of its residents. And that's in the California Constitution. The ability to enact ordinances to protect the health, safety, and welfare is important in the land use context because it confers very broad rights to adopt regulations that implement local land use visions and values. Land use and zoning regulations are derivative of a city's general police power. This power allows cities to establish land use and zoning laws which govern the development and use of a community. In 1974, Supreme Court declared the police power is not confined to an elimination of filth, stench, and unhealthy places. It is ample to lay out zones where family values, youth values, and the blessings of quiet seclusions and clean air make an area of sanctuary for people. Now, when we talk about moratoriums, a lot of folks get all wild up and it's like, oh, you job killers, you economic development killers. Well, I'm gonna say this, we are not gonna stand to be more collateral damage in the name of economic development. Our children are dying. Our senior residents are dying. More and more people have increasingly more illnesses in pulmonary, in heart disease, and brain damage, brain development. A lot of the kids are not learning because their brains are not being developed because of PM 2.5. So when are we gonna take the kids' health and brain development as a priority? Now, you guys have a beautiful climate action plan that was adopted in 2016. It says that you must target emissions reductions by 15% by 2020. In fact, you guys have doubled the emissions because of how many warehouses you guys have approved. So you guys haven't even met your own action plans. I encourage you to take this matter serious, to move forward with a moratorium, which is a temporary solution to address the concerns and come up with better solutions to protect the residents. Do what's right and follow your government code law. Thank you.
Joaquin Castillejos, Omar Cabayan, Sal Amesquita.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, staff, community. My name is Joaquin. Once again, I'm with CCAJ, and I'm a resident of the Inland Empire. And as a resident of the Inland Empire, there's no way to not see the increase of development of the industrial sector in the past 5 to 10 years, but especially in the last 5 years. In 2022, there was an attempt by this city to address that concern with a moratorium, with a study. What came out of that was the Good Neighbor Guidelines that was supposed to address some of the concerns and bring some safety safety to the community. But unfortunately, it did not do that. In 2022, when this was being talked about, according to the Warehouse City tool developed by Radical Research LLC, there were 98 warehouses that encompassed 44 million square feet and introduced 29,000 daily truck trips to Paris. That was in 2022. After 2022 and the Good Neighbor Guideline was implemented, there was an increase of 36 more warehouses that were either approved or in the process of being planned and approved. 36 more warehouses with 20,200,000 square feet of space and 14,000 more truck trips introduced into Paris. To me, this looks like the Good Neighbor Guidelines were not effective at all. In the other case, it gave industry the opportunity to say they followed the rules and that they met the minimum standards and they were able to follow along with their developments. Just this month, there was a warehouse approved next to Rob Brainerd Children and Family Center, Pinacate Middle School, and Railway Elementary. 3 schools that are in the vicinity of mega warehouses. If the Good Neighbor Guidelines were effective, this would have never been approved. Every day, 41.5 pounds of diesel particulate matter, PM2.5, is released into the air in Paris. Every day, it's poisoning the lungs of children and residents of Paris. PM2.5 is one of the deadliest contaminants, slowing down lung growth for children and leading to long-term health effects like asthma, cardiovascular disease, and respiratory diseases. And if you look at the CalEnviro screen created by the Cal EPA, Paris actually has some of the highest levels of cardiovascular disease in the state, with the population having more concentration of cardiovascular disease than 90% of the rest of the state of California. We need a moratorium now. Why do we need it now? Because if we don't approve this moratorium, if we don't move forward with a discussion to actually address the concerns, to actually
Good evening, staff, City Council, and Mayor Vargas. My name is Omar Kobian. I'm here speaking on behalf of over close to 6,000 carpenters, members that live in Riverside County, and over 12,000 that live in the Inland Empire. Behind me, we have about 25, 30 members that could easily be home watching TV and getting ready for work tomorrow. A lot of these members got up at 3, 4 in the morning to have to make that long commute, to dump those emissions that we're still talking about into the air, to drive to Orange County, to LA, and to San Diego. Why? Because number one, yes, the lack of jobs that pay a good wage, union jobs right here in the city of Paris and in the Inland Empire. A moratorium would do a couple things. Number one, it's gonna send a signal to all developers. Paris is closed for business. We don't want your business here. We want to restrict more business, more growth. We don't want the millions and millions of dollars that have improved the flooding, that have improved the roads, that have improved our highways. We don't want that. Take it somewhere else. Take it to Menifee, give it to Moreno Valley, give it to Hemet. Hey, you've had your turn. I know there's some very passionate people here, very young, passionate, and so am I, and I'm glad they're here. But I think that passion comes from a lot of misinformation. In 2013, the city of Paris passed a general land use zoning. All you got to do is look on the website and you'll see what's zoned for industrial. So this council hasn't been passing, possibly they might have, but we're not asking them to rezone areas that are not already zoned for that, okay? What we're asking for is to continue the progress, use the Good Neighbor Guidelines that you have been, and keep the growth coming. to try to stifle progress in a city that needs it is a denial on opportunities for young men and women that live right here in the city of Paris to start their career in the Carpenters Union, as opposed to sending them down the ways. We want to talk about jobs. We need those jobs here in the city of Paris. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, good evening. My name is Salvador Amezquita. I'm also one of the representatives here for the Carpenters. I'm actually here to speak on two gentlemen that are standing in the room behind us, that one of them grew up in Paris and the other one still lives in Paris, that are out of work. I mean, I can't fix any environmental impact, but I can speak for them, because at the end of the day, they got to feed their families. You know, I don't know how long it takes for pulmonary illness to strike, but I know starvation comes up pretty quick. You know, they have families to feed. They have benefits they need to get paid. These are good union wage paying jobs that bring benefits to them, their families, that provide retirement, that they can grow old with dignity and actually retire. And a moratorium on a city is, like Omar said, it's a detriment. It's gonna close down the shop. There's not gonna be like development. Thanks.
Julie Liu, Jorge Barreda, Kevin Turner.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council members, and staff. My name is Julie Liu, and I am a proud journeyman union carpenter out of Local 951. I've been in the trades for over 5 years, and I'm here to ask anyone who is for the idea of the moratorium to rezone industrial projects to lift and remove this idea. I highly believe you might be thinking that way because you don't see the value yet in keeping projects in the city of Paris and the Inland Empire and the effect it has on union carpenters who are tax-paying members for your city. I'd like to paint you a picture of what my day-to-day looks like. On an average day, I wake up around 3:30 in the morning. Sometimes I could be waking up anytime between 12 a.m. to 3 a.m. even. If I get lucky, my drive to work is 45 minutes minimum, and coming home is a minimum of an hour and 15 minutes to 2 hours. Most of the work for union carpenters lies in the LA County area, Orange County, and even in San Diego, and yet much of the union carpenters lives in the IE. I am up here to fight for our work to stay because it is currently the small sliver of chance that a large amount of union carpenters get to periodically work near home before we're off to another county to work again. Anyone who is a proud military veteran or has family and friends, you know how much you honor the well-deserved military members who fight for our country. My sister is a captain in the Army, and I am extremely proud of her. But have you ever thought to honor the people who built this country? The schools, the hospitals, the highways, the beautiful buildings that people take their selfies in for the Instagrams. And yes, among those buildings are also the warehouses that ship out all your online purchases because the world moves way too fast now and people need things instantly. You know that is not going to stop, unfortunately. Being a union carpenter has absolutely changed my life. Since becoming a union carpenter, I have paid off my student loan debt and credit card debts, improved my credit, built my savings, and have a retirement plan I am looking forward to. I am highly involved with my local, and in my time, I have discovered how incredible the level of involvement in the community the union carpenters are. I have noticed a change in my level of professionalism, the increase in my work ethic, and how much I care about bettering my community. Please think about this. Look at all of my brothers present in this room behind me. People who don't know look down upon carpenters, and yet, what industry do you know has people who show up after a minimum of a 10-hour day of work comes to a city council meeting on a weeknight? I'm here to fight for my brothers and sisters because I know the sacrifices we make to build this country. We are proud and we want to pass on our legacy and the skills we've gained to the next generation. I have a friend who works for their city, and getting to know their work, I realize the sacrifices they have to make. In that sense, they are truly servant leaders. I would highly challenge anyone who is for the moratorium to get to know the union carpenters and the sacrifices we make to build your country and your city before you make your decision. You might unexpectedly see a little bit of yourself in us and want to honor those carpenters, by allowing work for us to build and in turn put money.
Thank you.
Good evening. I'm not really good at speaking stuff, so forgive me. But my name is Jorge Barreda. I'm a union carpenter for about almost 2 years now. Changed my life tremendously. Grew up in a single-family home. So with this job, I'm able to provide for my family, my mother, my brother. I'm able to provide stuff for them that they never had the opportunity to get. Vacation. You know, my little brother is just is my world, man. And I believe this. I just don't know. So, like I said, I'm not really good at the speaking stuff, but I don't know. My vote is no, though. It's just, yeah, no. Sorry, yeah. Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, and staff. My name is Kevin Turner. I'm the Executive Managing Director at Cushman & Wakefield and also head up our Ports and Intermodal Practice Group for the Americas, and I've been an adjunct professor for 11 years teaching in the Center for International Trade and Transportation at Cal State University Long Beach, and I'm here to speak on behalf of the moratorium. I am a third-generation owner, a property owner here in the Valley. My grandfather came out here as a land speculator from Long Beach, and I asked my dad while we were driving around the Willys Jeep, I said, what the heck are we doing out here? He said, we're going to buy land out here, son. I said, why? He said, this is the path of progress. This is what Orange County looked like 50 years ago, and we don't want to miss out on this opportunity. So I grew up bird hunting out here, learned how to ride a motorcycle at Paris Speedway, learned how to water ski at the reservoir, and still to this day, I train my dog and hunt at the San Jacinto Wildlife Refuge. So this is home to me. I have a home in Canyon Lake, and I do care about clean air and clean water like these folks behind me. The San Jacinto River, which bisects the industrial park, leads into the North Ski area at Canyon Lake. So I am very protective about water quality, and I know what the industrial stakeholders are doing with retention, detention, and filtration to make our water much cleaner in Canyon Lake. But I want to talk for a moment about jobs. I have a client of mine that I'm representing, a 500,000 square foot Fortune 500 client. And here's what the segregated profile looks like of the jobs that they're going to bring either to Ontario, Fontana, or Paris. Regional vice president, $175,000 to $220,000. That is the salary range. We talked about de minimis jobs and worthless jobs earlier tonight. How about a vice president of supply chain? They need two of those, between $135,000 and $155,000. How about two warehouse operation managers, between $105,000 and $125,000. Transportation and freight leads, $85,000 to $95,000. Two IT software support leads, $75,000 to $85,000. Customer solutions and support, $65,000 to $75,000. Risk management, $75,000. Human resource manager, $75,000. Two customs compliance managers, $70,000. Reverse logistics and oversight inspections, $65,000. Devanning material handlers, they need 20 of those at $38,000, starting with an average of 46 with four bonuses plus matching 401ks, health, dental, medical, and tuition assistance. Order pullers, they need 30 of those. Starting salary, $38,000. Quality assurance, $35,000. That's 96 employees, including a second shift. That's an average annual payroll in one warehouse of $5 million.
Thank you.
Jillian Menez, Bill Blankenship, Andrew Silva.
Hello, once again, my name is Jillian Menez, and I have been a resident of the city of Paris for my entire life. I was born here. I was here before the warehouses began popping up in every corner, and in such a short time, I have witnessed our beautiful city become the center for greedy corporations to establish roots in, aided by perhaps an even greedier council. And we'll see today how true that is. If it's not already abundantly clear, I am speaking in support of a warehouse moratorium, and I plead with the council to do what is right and move it forward. The last time a warehouse moratorium discussion occurred in January 2022, the council voted against it. Instead, you implemented what you call good neighbor guidelines for the industrial inhabitants to abide by. These guidelines are insufficient and simply exist to try and appease those of us who are rightfully appalled by the blatant exploitation of our community. None of those guidelines include proper taxation, funding for our impacted communities. There are no limitations on size or the locations of the warehouses, nor any other meaningful guidelines besides essentially suggesting that the warehouses try to limit some of the cancerous exhaust and toxins that they expose us to. I am here to say that a nonsense resolution such as that is not enough this time. We expect you to push a moratorium forward, and we will not accept the same inadequate solutions that you fed us 2 years ago. For a moratorium to move forward, you, the council, need your 4 out of 5 votes. I know that the industrial community present, IDI Logistics, for example, are sitting there without worry, because they know that they have an unwavering support of 3 of 5 of you sitting up there. I beg you, please, Mayor Vargas, Councilwoman Rogers, and Councilman Rabb, do right by the community and push this moratorium forward. Within the community, the concerns over warehouse expansion and the environmental and health effects are not divided. The accumulation of warehouses in Paris is extremely unpopular, regardless of party affiliation or other social boundary. Should you refuse to implement strict restrictions and push the moratorium forward, then here and now you are choosing to display exactly where your interests lie, with yourself and not the mega corporations that are destroying our town, not with the people you're supposed to represent and care for. Prove me wrong. Push this forward and do right by our community. I remind you for a second time, Mayor Vargas, Councilwoman Rogers, and Councilman Corona, all 3 of you are up for re-election this year, and I would hope that you truly understand the implications of your decision today. And with my remaining time, I just wanted to say, in response to the unions present, and to a comment I heard previously, you're right, it's a really good thing that our heart disease is gonna take a while to set in, so that way you guys can have a job for 1 year. Thank you.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and Honorable Council and staff. My name is Bill Blankenship, representing Inland Empire NAIOP chapter. As you heard earlier from staff in their report, we have already presented a letter of comment that was part of the record this evening. And in that letter, we simply stated that throughout the history over the last couple of years, when the moratorium was last discussed, and council gave direction to staff to work on a good neighbor policy, as well as do a clean air study. And as part of that good neighbor policy, it also resulted in a tree ordinance that hasn't been talked about very much tonight. But for every 2,500 square feet of warehouse space, a tree will be planted somewhere else in the community at the expense of the developers. And that's just one of many community benefits that go along with the industry. Tonight, you also heard from a gentleman who talked about the types of jobs that are in these warehouse facilities. What he described tonight is not an anomaly in the industry, it's the norm in the industry. These jobs have benefits, have 401ks, full health benefits, medical savings plans. Entry-level jobs start out at $24 an hour. If you can drive a forklift, you get a $5 an hour bump on average, and that's just starting out. Those are the entry-level jobs in these positions with many steps after that. So these are the jobs and the path to progress and upward mobility and to home ownership in our community, something that I think we all want. So tonight, we're respectfully asking you to not declare a moratorium or not to direct staff to go work on another moratorium. Your city simply did what many other cities did throughout the Inland Empire. There were a dozen cities in the Inland Empire over the last 4 years and counties that have adopted good neighbor policies. Your city was one of those. Generally, what happens is sometimes the city will declare a moratorium, and how a moratorium goes away with the adoption of a good neighbor policy. Your city opted not to have a moratorium, but to adopt a good neighbor policy, as well as a clean air study. The results of that are in your staff report. I think it's very compelling. And I know you have all read that. I know others have read that. And I urge everybody in this room, if they haven't fully read the Good Neighbor Policy and have not read other Good Neighbor Policies, they certainly should do that. And on behalf of the industry, it's my pleasure to be here, and I respectfully request that you do not direct your staff to declare a moratorium, but that you continue to work with the industry and all those businesses that are coming here and ensure that you get the best product for the community. Thank you for the opportunity to speak and testify this evening. Thank you.
Good evening. Thanks for the opportunity to speak. My name's Andrew Silva. I'm a resident of Riverside in the Orange Crest neighborhood, so just down the freeway, right along the 215 corridor. I'm also a member of Riverside Neighbors Opposing Warehouses. There's no easy answers in a complicated public policy discussion like this. I'm retired, but the last few years of my career, I was immersed eyeball deep in the warehouse debate, from air quality to jobs to transportation to all of that. And I sort of had this evolution when my friends from the environmental justice community and the local community would get up and complain about warehouses. My first thought was, where do you or your uncle or your aunt or your brother who only has a high school diploma going to get any kind of job at all? And these warehouses do provide those jobs, and especially the union jobs. God bless my union brothers and sisters who are actually making a living. I sort of consider myself a blue-collar guy at heart. But I have slowly come to the conclusion that the metastasis of warehouses in the Inland Empire, for all the benefits it brings, that the impacts, the public decision makers will often sacrifice anything on the altar of jobs regardless, including good land use. And the main problem with warehouses have just been bad land use, putting these next to sensitive receptors or homes. Our little group formed just from one project in our neighborhood that is particularly egregious, but we've had support from out the region, and particularly this area of the county. So we're just here to support them. My neighbor will probably have some very telling statistics, but we're just here to support our neighborhood. I apologize to Mayor Vargas and Councilwoman Rogers, who've heard this spiel before from me, in their role as members of the March JPA. But anyway, we're just here to support the community in general, and tough decisions, but that's why you're up there.
Mike McCarthy, Debbie Welsh, Gracie Torres.
Good evening, honorable council members, honorable mayor. My name is Mike McCarthy. I'm with Riverside Neighbors Opposing Warehouses. I'm also an adjunct professor at Pitzer College in the environmental analysis group, and I'm a co-author of the Region in Crisis Report, which called for a regional warehouse moratorium that was sent to the governor last year. He hasn't done anything either. So, there's lots of people punting on this issue. But I wanted to thank all of you for bringing this forward and actually proposing a warehouse moratorium. I really do hope that you lead on this issue. We need leading cities to take a stand. Warehouses, one warehouse isn't a problem. It's like if you have a farm and you've got a cow, not a problem. If you have 50 cows, okay, it's a little bit of a problem. If you've got 50,000 cows, like they've got, the concentrated agricultural feeding operations, that's a problem. It's a toxic dump, okay? And our Inland Empire is the concentrated warehouse feeding operation of the entire country, okay? We've got more warehouses than anyone else because we have the biggest port complex in the U.S., okay? I built a tool to look at all the warehouses, and you've been talking about Paris, and I'm not going to talk about your city, but you have a bunch of neighboring cities and jurisdictions that are also building warehouses. So I just want to keep you in the loop. Moreno Valley has 2,700 acres of warehouses approved. That's World Logistics Center, 40 million square feet. Marsh Joint Powers Authority is considering another 400 acres of warehouses. Mead Valley to your west has about 600 acres of warehouses already, another 300 acres planned. The Stonebridge Commerce Center is about 450 acres, and Menifee is planning on building about 800 acres just to your border on Ethanek, which I'm sure you guys are aware of. So you are surrounded by warehouses. There are 17 years of approved and planned warehouses in the Inland Empire right now. At 1,000 acres a year of building, there's 17,000 acres out there, planning and approved stages. There will be jobs forever, brothers. Jobs forever. 17 years of jobs, okay? 17 years of jobs, NIOP, okay? We don't need any more jobs, okay? We've got all the jobs we need in this industry. What we need is diversification, resilience, sustainability. Where are the local jobs for the local entrepreneurs, for the local business owners? We have Bill Blankenship coming in and talking about people coming into your city. How about growing the businesses locally? Because the people who are here, who are building your city, are the people who will stay and invest in your city. Think about industrial zones for your local citizens and keep out the carpetbaggers like me. But yes, I'm in Riverside, so I shouldn't be telling you what to do. But for me, it's all about local control and growth of a community. And you're not going to have the same commitment. It's going to be transactional if it's from outsiders. So don't let yourselves be used and abused. And frankly, I drove here on the 215, and that felt like driving on the surface of the moon coming down here. So we already have that right now. When we double the footprint in 10 years with the planned warehouses, how bad are our roads going to be? Okay? We have enough. We have to say stop sometimes. So take a pause, take a breath, think about what you're doing, and hopefully you'll make a great decision. Thank you so much for your time.
Trying to get over this terrible cold, so hopefully I can get through this. Anyway, I am definitely in support of the moratorium. I've been fighting warehouses for over 20 years. I actually live not too far from here. I can see the sea of warehouses from my house on the hill on the other side of the 215, and it's horrible. And what is it? The guidelines, are they 1,000 feet from sensitive receptors? Probably not. But the biggest impact of the warehouses is the trucks that are impacting the entire Inland Empire. You cannot get onto the 215 freeway. Those trucks are tearing up our roads. They go down Cajalco. They go down all the roads in Riverside. Even though they have the big sign up there saying no trucks allowed, there's no enforcement. So the enforcement is the problem. And so it's impacting everybody that lives out here. It's not just the smog. It's the roads. You're going to have more warehouses coming in from San Jacinto, that area. You're going to have that Mid-County Parkway going right through the city of Paris sooner or later if you don't do something about these warehouses. I have a neighbor lives right next door to me, and she came from one of the warehouses. It was 120 degrees inside. People were fainting because of the health effects. They were having all kinds of problems. This happens all the time. There's no insulation in those warehouses. And so it gets really hot in there, and the people are passing out. It is a problem. And they are not getting paid a lot of money. Those people are getting, they're getting hired by second agencies. And so that's a problem. And so you can say all you want to about all these jobs. Another problem we have is LA Times recently had an article that the warehouse industry is going bust. And so that's another problem. We're going to have all these warehouses, building all these warehouses. What are they going to do with them when they're not able to function anymore as a warehouse? What are they going to be after that? Are they going to be like the Rust Belt in some of the other states? What are they going to use them for? Another issue is with the unions. They take these warehouse land use and they change it from commercial to industrial. We could change that land back to commercial, or maybe just leave it commercial, or maybe leave it housing. There's still plenty of opportunities for the unions to build something besides warehouses. They don't have to build warehouses. They could take a lot longer to build a shopping center. As everybody knows what a warehouse is, it's basically 4 walls of cement. They go basically goes up overnight. So there's a lot more opportunities.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, and City staff. I'm here today to I think I spoke a couple weeks ago. I know sometimes we like to convolute what's going on in our rooms, especially on the dais. Just very quickly, a moratorium is not a bad thing. It's an assessment and a time to look at variables and items that we need to be implemented to meet our goals. Very simple language. This one and this one we heard is not to completely obliterate any industrial development. It is just to not rezone into industrial, non-industrial into industrial. As I talk to residents, as I go around your city, my city, to do that, I hear two big issues. One is we have an environmental issue and we have way too many warehouses, and the other one is that we need jobs in our city, in our county. You owe it, and you hear that today. That's exactly what you're hearing today. We need jobs and we need to solve this inundation of warehouses. You owe it to your residents, you owe it to the members in this community that are listening, a time to look at the variables and items that need to be implemented to get us to our goals. If our goal is to have a ton of buildings that are empty, that are just spitting out logistics, then that's the goal we meet. If our goal is to build a community to have union jobs building a city with roads and community centers and parks, if those are our goals, you owe it to them by taking a pause, taking a moratorium, and studying that issue. I respectfully ask for you to discuss this and consider a moratorium on rezoning non-industrial to industrial.
Angelica Rueda, Julio Flores, and Mike Sohomayer.
Good afternoon. My name is Angelica Rueda. I'm a Paris resident. I've lived here for a little over 15 years. My husband is a carpenter. Every morning he has to wake up at 3 in the morning to go to work in Los Angeles. There's a lack of jobs close to our home. And for us, ever since he started working for the union, it opened a lot of opportunities for us. Just last December, we purchased 3 acres here, right next to the Paris Raceway. And Paris is a beautiful resident. Our kids go to school here, and most of the time, their father's never home because he's either commuting to work or coming home from work. I ask tonight that you help support an increase in jobs, but not just jobs. I ask that you support parents coming home to their children near their home, and to end this commuting, going so far, so long hours, to be away from your children, just to try to make ends meet. Every day, the prices of everything is going up. And union carpenter jobs, they allow families like mine to afford a lot of things that we possibly couldn't imagine before. And thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Good evening, Mayor, City Council members. My name is Julio Flores. I'm honored to serve as a representative for the Western States Regional Council of Carpenters. Our organization is dedicated to advocating for the rights and interests of over 2,000 skilled carpenters who proudly call Paris their home. As a collective, we are committed to upholding the values of hard work, craftsmanship, and dedication to our craft. I stand before you to speak on behalf of all carpenters in our region and to express our deep concerns regarding the potential implementation of an industrial moratorium in the city of Paris. Such a decision would have far-reaching negative consequences for our community, especially for those individuals and families who depend on carpenter-type jobs to sustain their livelihoods and strive for a better future. For many our carpenters, these jobs are not just a source of income, but a pathway to achieving a comfortable middle-class lifestyle. The work we do is not only a means of providing for our families, but also a source of pride and fulfillment. By imposing an industrial moratorium, the city of Paris will be jeopardizing the economic stability of countless hardworking individuals and preventing their ability to progress towards a brighter future. Therefore, I urge you to carefully consider the impact of any proposed moratorium on the carpenters and their families in Paris. Let us work together to find solutions that support our community's growth and prosperity while also preserving the livelihoods of those who contribute so much to the fabric of our city. Thank you for your attention and consideration.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, good evening or good night, I should say. My name is Michael Sotomayor. I am also a union carpenter. I'm not going to beat the dead horse. All my brothers and my sisters standing up behind me and other people who are for blue-collar jobs, we know what you guys know what we've come here and said many, many times, right? But if we take a look at history, you take a look at states like Detroit, Mississippi, even Colorado, where they passed bills of right to work and it takes out blue-collar jobs. What happens to those states? We've all seen it. You see it on YouTube, you see it on television, you see it on the news. Poverty, right? We are the middle class. Growth doesn't feel good. And I know that just like when you were kids and you feel growing pains, it doesn't feel good, but growth is needed. You see cities like Moreno Valley, Riverside, Los Angeles, they keep building and growing, creating more opportunity for people that are within their city. I commend you guys for what you guys have done already, but there's a saying, how do you feed an elephant? You give an elephant peanuts, right? If you look around in this room, you have elephant-type careers. You have carpenters, you have the sheriffs back there, right? You have fire department. Those are blue-collar jobs, and that's what keeps the community going. Imagine giving peanuts to blue-collar people who do major things for our cities, for our people, for growth. So I just ask that you guys give favor to continue to grow and not give everybody peanuts anymore.
Jason Geller, Nicholas Rajen, Natalie Solares Rajen, Marwan Alabasi.
All right, good evening, Mayor, council members, city staff. My name is Jason Geiger. I work for the apprenticeship in Riverside. I train over 600 apprentices that live in Riverside County, and a lot of them live right here in Paris. And, some things have been said today, about temporary jobs. Well, that's the thing of a union carpenter is stringing together 30 years of temporary jobs to be able to retire someday. So that's our job. Yeah, they are temporary. They are 1 year, 6 months, sometimes less. But then you get those long ones. And those jobs, like my brothers and sisters have said, gives them benefits to if their family gets sick, they can go to the doctor, vacation pay, good paying union jobs, So that's our job, is to train these young men and women, and we're even getting into the high schools with our union. We're starting to train them early in high school so they come out young and can retire someday young instead of being super old trying to build stuff still. So our job as union carpenters is to train the next generation, and that's what we do. We have several high schools that we're already training and getting those jobs. So I urge you guys to consider keeping the plan and just doing the right thing by using your good, neighbor plan. You guys have been doing a great job with that. You guys, we've sat through many of your guys' meetings, And you guys do a good job of making sure these developers are doing the right thing. And, you know, truck traffic, I drove down that freeway today. I saw 1,000 cars to each truck. There is not a lot of trucks on the road. There's more cars on the road than there is trucks. So it's not all trucks. And nowadays with the diesel emissions and stuff and changing the motors in these diesels, they're not putting out the emissions they used to. And, you know, we just had to buy a new truck for our training fund because we couldn't smog that diesel truck anymore. So it had to go away. We had to buy a newer one that had a cleaner motor. So just keep those good neighbor things going and make the city greater every day. Okay, thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Yeah, good evening, council, mayor. I've been a resident of Paris going on about 5 years now. My name's Nicholas Rajan. I just wanted to talk to you all really quickly about a concept known as sacrifice zones. Sacrifice zones are commonly areas where a community is sacrificed for the benefit of another. When you consider this metastasis, a very apt term for what's going on with the warehouses throughout the Inland Empire, throughout all these different communities, you'll see that they're targeted in these areas that are predominantly people of color. They're predominantly people without the economic means to live in a well-off place that might include somewhere like Sherman Oaks or Canyon Lake or Idlewild. I just wanted to share that there's also acute environmental impacts that have to be considered. Increased emissions, of course, lead to higher rates of asthma. They lead to lifelong chronic diseases. But you also have to consider all these trucks that are servicing these warehouses. The trucks carry heavy loads, and in carrying those loads, they have to be treated with a chemical known as 6-PPD. Their tires cannot support this weight. The 6-PPD leaches from these tires into the environment, poisoning the aquifers, poisoning our waterways. And sure, there are some communities, some waterways, some riparian areas that can afford or have that kind of engineering so that they're relatively cleaner to others. But I did notice that lakes like Lake Elsinore, reservoirs like these other ones, where I would not jump into to swim just because of the impacts that might exist from algae or these other pollutants exist in those areas. I also wanted to mention that I come from a community that is one of these sacrifice zones. There have been environmental firms and environmental agencies in the past that said that strip mining and or uranium mining is positive or there's low impacts to the environment due to those kind of industries. And my community is suffering today from different uranium-caused effects like cancers, loss of family members, and terrible outcomes for the environment in those areas too. So it is very important for city leaders to weigh this decision in regards to the sacrifice of its citizens and its youth, as well as the fate of the planet. I also wanted to just mention that in order to retire with some of these jobs, not only the carpentry jobs, but jobs that are coming from these industries, you're going to have to shut off a part of your heart as you're surrounded by family, by neighbors, by friends who are suffering from the long-term impacts of these diseases that either acutely affect them in ways like death or cause a lowering in their quality of life. And we're not all so fortunate as to go away to other communities that allow for a cleaner way of living. And yeah, I'll leave it at that. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mayor and Council, buenas noches, good evening. I'm glad to see there's a moratorium being considered. I'm a City of Paris resident. I grew up here and a taxpayer in this city as well. I want to ensure that the leadership consider the importance of this moratorium in industrial development to ensure that the health and interest of the community is being considered. I want to remind you, there are 55 emails that were in support of this moratorium. The economy of Paris is not going to hinder economic growth. There are plenty of jobs already available in the city of Paris. You drive around, you see on the warehouses, hiring. There's plenty of jobs available. And the fact that Paris is in the top 5 cities that have warehouses in the Inland Empire is something not to be proud of. No disrespect to the union workers, all power to the workers, because people deserve livable jobs that are, that make them happy. But there was a recent article, as was shared earlier from the LA Times that yes, they shared how jobs in warehouses are at all-time low, and there's plenty of jobs that are available already. How is there a concern of Paris economy to be at risk when there's plenty of jobs available? I want you to think about what will happen to the future generations in the future of the city. What will happen if the warehouses run out of business? The city will be stuck with these horrible buildings that will cover up the earth in concrete and pavement instead of the land. What does this do? It increases the heat in this area, puts in a terrible position for climate change, and it should be no surprise that air quality is terrible due to industrial development. This valley used to be unique with clean air quality compared to Los Angeles, and with an increase of development and industrial air quality, will continue to get worse. I'm disappointed that the city's climate action plan has not been taken seriously and that it's actually increased emissions. Instead of the mayor and council, they've allowed this to become a warehouse dump. And there should be more considerations for the community, for our health, our future generations, and well-being. As the previous speaker mentioned, it is your job to protect the health, safety, and welfare of the residents of Paris, and this moratorium is in the right direction. I worked a 10-hour day today too, and I'm over 36 weeks pregnant, but I'm still here. I should be at home with my child or at the library earlier enjoying the family activities. But I have to be sure that my voice is heard and ensure that actual city residents who are here and concerned also are heard. So I ask you, please protect the health and well-being by voting yes on this moratorium.
Thank you.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor, council members, staff. My name is Marwan Alabasi. I'm a local developer. I live in the city of Riverside nighttime and Paris daytime. I've been in Paris for the last 16 years, actually. I spend almost every day in Paris. I started my development venture here in Paris back in 2005, where Paris was not what Paris is now. And I actually had in the past worked for Caltrans many years ago. I remember in the early 80s, I worked in the Rouen Expressway overpass when it went over the tracks. So I've seen Paris develop. In 2002, I moved to Riverside, and I've been there since then, 22 years. I do not have a single business in Riverside, but I have about 8 businesses in Paris. And that speaks for the quality of the city, the leadership, the council, and the staff. And I tell you here, not because we stand in front of them, but you have probably one of the best staff in Southern California. I deal with a lot of cities. These guys are dedicated, and I know why some nights they don't answer me between Claire and Kenneth at 6 o'clock because they're here. But these guys are dedicated to doing their job. To see a moratorium like this, I think it's really harmful to the business community. I am signatory with the Carpenter Union and with the Labor Union. When we started our construction company, Alabasi Construction, we have over 300 employees between my businesses in Paris. I own gas stations in Paris. We're doing a hotel pretty soon. And we are involved in a small warehouse that might be impacted with this moratorium. But I'm here to speak in general. My businesses we were working in Pasadena, Orange County. When this warehouse industry came and the agreements, the PLA agreement, they allowed the union to work and bring, so we were encouraged to bring our office. We moved my office from Riverside to Paris, and we worked in a lot of the warehouses, and my union employees, I don't know if you guys know, these guys might not admit to it, but they all make over $100,000, $150,000. They're not low income paying. I have my office staff, a lot of them make over $100,000. Even our gas station employees, which we have, they make good money. So really the businesses, the jobs we bring to this community, even though I do not personally live in Riverside, but I'm proud to be, in Paris, I'm proud to be in Paris for the last 16 years. I really hope that you keep considering the projects that come in front of you on the basis of the projects and what they bring to the community. I'm not here to talk about my specific project, which is coming soon, but in general, I like the direction the council has gone in the last 15 years since I've been around. Thank you.
That is all.
All right, I'll allow for another speaker if anybody wants to come up and say something.
Thank you, Mayor, for allowing me to speak on this evening.
As my husband sent me a text earlier today and told me not to get nervous. And I had to remind him that I just left the dentist's office a few hours ago, so I'm still under the lidocaine. So please pardon me. But I wanted to make the sacrifice to be here today. It feels more like an obligation to my fellow residents as well. My name is Lupe. Some of you know me as a planning commissioner, but I'm here today to voice my opinion as a resident of the city of Paris. I am in support of the moratorium that is being up for discussion today, and this is why. Many of you have been here before and have seen that a zone change, developers come in asking for zone changes in our community. The Planning Commission at times has voted not in favor of these zone changes. However, it still comes to council and it still gets passed. Planning Commission is composed of residents here of the city of Paris who also have voices and also are to be heard. Once we lose our commercial zoning, it's gone forever. You build 4 walls, 5 walls of concrete, and you cannot bring that commercial zone back. So potential stores, restaurants, different types of distraction, help me out here, movie theaters, and other outgoing family areas will be gone forever. You can't bring it back. The bottom line, as I have learned, our city does not have the infrastructure. We don't have the roads to accommodate all of the truck traffic that comes and goes. Please consider the moratorium to take time and wait. Take time to reconsider the zoning and consider the needs of our growing city. I did want to read a piece. Everyone's been referring to the LA Times piece on finance, but I actually did bring it up myself and I wanted to share it with you today. So Finance Yahoo has a piece, and this is dated February 21st, which was a few days ago. For years, the growth of warehousing in the Inland Empire was relentless. At the confluence of port-bound freeways and rail spurs along the eastern edge of LA sprawl, box-like fulfillment centers popped up in business parks by the millions of square feet. They were an economic engine, a bringer of jobs, a shortener of commutes, and workhorse during the pandemic. But now that comes to a halt, bringing uncertainty for thousands of workers in an industry that has been an economic bellwether for the region. After the COVID-19 pandemic slammed the nation in spring 2020, the Inland Empire recovered all of the jobs it lost in the summer of 2021, more than a year ahead of Orange County and almost 2 years earlier than Los Angeles County. Despite pandemic restrictions, the area's machinery of storing and transporting goods kicked into high gear, outpacing better paying and more glamorous. This piece does not speak in favor of the warehouses, but it does talk about how the tables have turned, the warehousing and storing jobs in the Inland Empire shrank for the first time in more than 2 decades.
Thank you, Ms. Gomez.
Thank you.
All right, council discussion. Councilwoman, Mayor Pro Tem Rogers.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I'd like to thank all of the speakers that came in tonight. And I'd like to share a couple of things with you that we haven't discussed tonight. When this item came up, I reached out to our finance director, Matt Schick, to obtain some statistics that I'd like to share with you. And Matt, if you can put those items up on the screen, that would be very helpful. We've heard a lot of things, the pros and cons of the industrial warehouses in the city. And as council members, we have to make hard decisions. We have to make sure that we can provide all of the services necessary to our residents. And I just want to share a few things with you. The industrial diff fees that we've received from the last 5 years is a total of $34,300,000. So that averages approximately $6,860,000 from the industrial warehouses. The point of sale dollars from the distribution centers that we've received over the last 3 years, according to HDL that collects those for us, is a total of $14.4 million to $18 million. So that averages approximately $5.4 billion a year. That totals, from just those two sources, $12.2 million a year from both sources, which actually equals 17% of our total budget of $73,000. What that funds are actually 3 departments for the city of Paris. Our fire department receives $7.3 million a year. Our IT department receives $2.8 million a year. Our finance department receives $1.4 million a year. So that $12.2 million that we receive from those two sources from the industrial warehouses equals a little over $11 million. So we still have another $600,000 left over. That does not include the millions of dollars that the industrial warehouses pay in property taxes, tens of millions of dollars in infrastructure, and also millions of dollars in temp fees. It does not include the community benefits to our residents, like Duke Realty's $1 million scholarship program that enabled dozens of our residents to get their degree program, the Optimist donations to multiple churches and nonprofits in our city, the IDI Veterans Memorial, the DECA contribution to our Val Verde School District, and numerous donations from our industrial community to the Skills Center. So just keep that in mind of what we've received from the industrial warehouses. Another fact that I'd like to share with you also is the recent ballot measure that we put on in November of 2023. The voter response to that, of 36,145 registered voters, only 3,085 cast their ballot. That is 8.5% of the registered voters in our city of Paris. So 91% of our voters did not even participate when they had the opportunity to tax warehouses to repair our roads. Of the 3,085 that did vote, 1,476 voted not to tax warehouses because they were afraid they would lose jobs. So only approximately 4% of the registered voters that were here in Paris were concerned about the warehouses and the damage to our streets. So those are two things we haven't met. So that tells us as council members where the public and registered voters in the city of Paris stand as far as the warehouses. So those are two of my concerns of all of the benefits and the budget concerns that we have to provide services, and to look at losing approximately $12 million is a hard pill to swallow. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman Nava?
I'd like to begin by thanking all of our
Yes,
public
hold on,
comment
hold on,
speakers.
please.
Yes.
We gave you guys time to talk. Now let us have our turn, please. If you're going to disrupt the meeting, I'm going to have you removed. So please let us have our turn. Go ahead, Councilwoman.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to begin by thanking all of our public comment speakers tonight. I'd like to go ahead and, for background context, by the information presented by Mr. Fung tonight. On January 25th, 2022, just 2 years ago, Councilmember Corona requested a discussion for a moratorium. That failed to move forward. However, it directed staff to bring back an impact study. On July 26, 2022, that impact study report was presented to council here at the council chambers, and there it outlined that there is a need to minimize negative impacts due to the cumulative number of industrial projects that had already been completed or were nearing completion. It was fitting at that time to have that discussion, which was just 2 years ago, because we are reaching a limited vacant industrial zone land. Since that last discussion, just 2 years ago, there have already been 4 rezone projects approved. As of today, there are 26 project applications in the entitlement process, of which 10 of those applications include a land use to change to facilitate an industrial project, and that number will only continue to increase. The urgency for today's moratorium is needed in order to put a pause on industrial growth in our city, to hear from our residents, as we have, who continue to push to add this item to the agenda, even though we've already had that discussion. And it's fitting because, like I mentioned, in just 2 years, we have had 4 rezones. And even our neighboring communities, thank you for reaching out in support of the moratorium tonight, and the need to continue to further research air quality, truck traffic, and health risk assessments associated with industrial developments and its applicability. This moratorium is critical to provide the opportunity to create better solutions and to assess the issues at hand, and I know that we are all aware of. Ignoring the need for a moratorium and judging each industrial project on its own merits is dangerous for our residents and the future of our city. And those are my comments for now. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Anybody else? Councilman Corona?
Thank you, Mayor. I do want to start out by thanking all those that came for expressing your views. I do take your voice very serious, and I do listen to your comments. I do have to address a couple of issues, though. Previously, somebody alluded to that this council approved a warehouse right next to the school. I do want to make that very clear. We did not, in no way, approve a warehouse next to the school. What we were doing was amending the change that was already approved in 2010. That project could have moved forward in 2010, 2011, 2012, 2013, 14, and so on. It just happened to come to our council at this time in 2024, right? And then so now people think that we approved it, but it made it smaller. It went from 4 warehouses to 3 warehouses. It pushed everything back. It added more landscaping. Was it a great project? No, but you know, it's something that they could have went back and built what was already approved. I do have to address some of the issues as well too. That were stated that the city of Paris, that if we do approve something, that is going to make us non-business friendly and you know, those comments. The city of Paris has always been open to business. As stated before, we are currently number 5 in the Inland Empire for the most warehouses. Number 2 of cities in the county, only followed by Moreno Valley, which has a population about 3-4 times as big as us. So Paris has always been open for business and friendly to unions as well too. Keep in mind, we were one of the first cities that approved the project labor agreement, and we're very proud of that. And we continue to be, and being someone that's part of a union, myself, I'm very proud of supporting unions. So there's plenty of work to go around on projects. I'm not sure how it works out and stuff like that, but I would like to learn more about that, about where they send you guys off, because there's plenty of work here in Paris. So I would think that the priority should go to Paris residents. And with the comment, I can't let anybody mention that about that there's not that many trucks. Ask any resident driving on 215, are there too many trucks? They would undoubtedly say, yeah, there are way more trucks than there used to be, and there's possibly too many trucks than what the 215 can hold. It's a wall of trucks sometimes. So I don't know what times of days that you go to, but the very few times I actually use the 215, it's bad. But I do thank you for all the comments. I have heard from this council that about some of the criticism of past council members, past councils that we've had throughout the years, right? I look around the city and I kind of wondered, why was that even approved? You know, I'm talking about like 40 years ago, right? 20 years ago, you know, projects in 2010, right? But it's very important to note that since the time I've been on council, this council has approved 7 rezones. So throughout the city, there are 7 projects that weren't approved due to our, if we followed our general plan. And that kind of brings me to my issue, that we have a general plan, and we don't always follow our general plan, right? There are some benefits, and as being a council member who has, I believe, and someone could quote me on this,
I believe I am the council member that voted to deny more warehouses than any other council member in history. I have no problem telling you that there are some benefits to the warehouses, right? As stated by my colleague, they do bring revenue to the city in terms of the e-commerce that we all do shopping online, right? Infrastructure improvements. There were areas that had flooding issues, and warehouse development, we kind of mandated that they do fix it and they do improve it. The financial benefits to our city that are ongoing sometimes, and also those development impact fees, which the Parks and Arts fee, since I was on council, we actually made the warehouse developers do those development impact fees. So restrooms in the parks, that was because of the warehouses, because we made them do it, essentially, right? The art installations here that we're going to be seeing upcoming, that was the warehouses that actually paid for that. And of course, the jobs, they do provide jobs, right? Are they the best quality jobs? I'm not going to say that they are, but for some people, they're good enough to survive, right? And we do want jobs that are better than survival. But with all the benefits, at what point do we say enough, right? Can we just keep on building and building and building? And currently, we're about 30 million square feet of warehouses, right? With about 15 million planning to come to fruition in the next couple of years, right? If you leave it up to the developers, they will build anywhere and everywhere, right? Because as many of them stated, right, I come to Paris, I like Paris, this and that, but they don't live in Paris, right? They're not from Paris, right? Their kids don't go to our schools, they don't drive on our roads, they don't shop in our grocery stores, right? They like Paris and they want to do this, but they like doing business in Paris, but they don't live in Paris. So I mean, you know, we can't put an ordinance of saying, hey, if you want to build a warehouse, you have to live in Paris. But I would like to do that, but you can't do that. So as stated, I mean, we do have enough. And if I talk to all the residents, from my own students in my classroom, they say, hey, all you guys do is build warehouses, you know, or I talk to my neighbors, or I talk to just the average resident. I've never heard one single resident say, hey, we need more warehouses and we need more rezones. I've never heard that. That's a person that was invested in the industry, right? I mean, if you benefit from the warehouse, you're going to want more warehouses, right? But I haven't heard that. So I think we need to have a discussion with the developers, right, along with the residents that are here, and we need to tell them, hey, at what point do we say enough, right? Because a lot of you guys come from cities where your city would never allow this many warehouses, right? And I'm gonna speak to the gentleman in the back too, or to the men and women, to the brothers and sisters, right? You guys say that Paris, oh, you guys are closed for business. We're number 5, right? Some of you guys come from cities that would never allow this stuff to be built in your communities, next to your kids' schools, right? But here, we have no problem doing it. Keep in mind, when I got on the council, there's been seven zone changes, right? These are areas where developers bought land knowing it wasn't for industrial, but they knew, hey, I'm going to buy this land and I'm going to change it to industrial, right? And I'm not going to get into campaign finances and stuff like that, but you know, but it's very concerning to me as somebody that grew up in Paris, and I used to grow up thinking, wow, there's so much infinite land, right? We only have 10% of the north for industrial left, right? And we knew what was going to happen. Once all that land's built out, where are they going to go? Other places, right? Now they're coming down south, right, where I live, right? Now they're coming other places, and they're kind of encroaching. And they'll keep on building as long as we keep letting them. So my issue, and I know I did bring it up 2 years ago, and seeing how our council hasn't changed, I'm not anticipating that we're going to do a blanket moratorium, right? But what I would like to do is do a pause, or a moratorium pause, on at least rezones. Keep in mind, from the 26 warehouses that are in the pipeline, 10 of those are for rezones, right? And that could be in the next 2 years. Well, in the last 7 years, we've only approved 7. So 10 of them are looking to get it. And every single time I've been on the council, every single time, they've always approved the rezone, right? As stated before, what the commissioner says, it does go to planning commission, and it will get 5-0 or 0-5, right? They all deny it, but it comes to council, and eventually sometimes it gets changed. So I am open to a moratorium, and I would like to get the list of different options, because I know we can't specifically say a rezone, but if it could be, I think I kind of wrote it, a moratorium for future, propose that we limit any warehouse at this time for land that is not currently zoned for industrial use. Is that one of the, I'm sorry. Which number would that be?
Number 3.
Number 3. So properties that are currently not zoned for industrial, and keep in mind, a moratorium isn't a permanent thing. It's 45 days and then possibly up to 22 months, right? So it's not forever, but at least it's a pause that we can see, hey, how is all these other projects going to affect the area? So I do support that. And I think, I guess my next thing is too, that I do want to mention, because I don't want to fail to mention this, that I am concerned about what we leave future generations, right? As a council here, we've approved, just millions of square feet of warehouses, right? Well, eventually there's going to be a council up here, 5 members, because now we have term limits, right? I plan on staying in Paris for the rest of my life, but we're going to have term limits. There's going to be 5 other people here, and I don't know, for sure by the next 10 years, right? That are more innovative. Hopefully they're more innovative, more forward thinking, have better ideas. But if we blanket all the lands with warehouses, they won't have any place to put those projects, right? So I'm not saying, things can happen in 20, 30 years, right? A stadium might be want to come into Inland Empire. Maybe an amusement park, a college or university is looking for a place, and this whole area is growing. And they might look at this and come to Paris, and we won't even have the land for them. Right, so I want to leave the future generation, future councils, the opportunities to take our city to another level for their new innovation that they plan on bringing. So I'll leave it with that. Thank you.
Councilman Rydrab.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Vargas. I'd like to start off by thanking all the speakers for coming out tonight and sharing their views regarding this very important topic. As Councilwoman Rogers mentioned, I think a lot of people are ignoring the benefits that industrial projects bring to the city of Paris. The sales tax in the city of Paris is 7.75%. That's basically the lowest the city in the county of Riverside could be at. Comparatively, the sales tax in Hemet, Menifee, and Riverside is all 8.75%, a whole percentage higher than the city of Paris. How we've been able to keep our sales tax at 7.75%, it's a lot of the income that the DIF fees, the point of sales fees from the Home Depot warehouse, the Wayfair warehouse, other warehouses that are brought into the city. In fact, in 2020, early 2020, right before the pandemic, we were able to pay off all of our pension debt. No other city out of the 460 cities in California have been able to do that. We're actually probably one of the most financially stable cities in not only the county of Riverside, but the state of California. And I think a lot of people ignore that. In terms of this council and the members on this council, over the last 7-8 years, we haven't just approved warehouses carte blanche like previous councils in other cities or previous councils here have. We've impaired different fees on the warehouses. In 2017, we implemented the park DIF fee. This fee has provided many of the restrooms at many of the parks in the city of Paris, along with constructing the Paris Valley Storm Trail and going toward an Enchanted Hills park and many other parks in the city. In 2019, we initiated the public art fee on the warehousing. The public art fee has paid for such art installations as the mural on the corner of D and 4th Street, the Mother Language Memorial right across the street. It will pay for the future Cesar Chavez statue that will go on the corner here. It's also paid for other art installations in the city. We had this discussion in January of 2022, and at the time, we didn't have the impact study, nor did we have the good neighbor policy. We brought the impact study in July of 2022, and then followed up by the good neighbor policy a few months later, I believe in September of 2022, that implemented setbacks, tree covering, and other items that require of the warehouse. In terms of the rezones over the last few years, none of the rezones have been carte blanche rezones. The Planning Commission has heard different projects that the developer brought to the city council. What is missing is that oftentimes the Planning Commission denied it. The applicant would appeal the project, bring it to the city council, and there would be different community benefits above and beyond the initial community benefit. For instance, you see that building going on the corner of 1st and D Street, that's a skills center. a lot of that will train young men and young women in the city of Paris in skilled trades and in-demand trades. We're partnering with RCC and Mount San Jacinto College Districts to provide those services. We received a lot of community impact development agreements from the different industrial facilities. At this time, my concern was if we move forward on a moratorium, it will show to the business community, not just the warehouse developers, but to commercial developers, residential developers, that the city of Paris is not open for business. My full-time job, I work in the city of San Bernardino, and we've seen what can happen when a city is not open to business. Go through downtown San Bernardino. It's an array of empty office buildings. The city council has not moved to put any residential in those buildings. You have an empty Radisson, you have an empty convention center. When I graduated from high school in 2004, they had a program at the convention center. Now you wouldn't be there after 4 o'clock, 5:30. It's a complete ghost town in downtown San Bernardino. But I do hear the concerns of the residents. I hear the concerns Ms. Walsh indicated. We do not want to become a Rust Belt city like a lot of the cities in Indianapolis, Gary, Indiana, Detroit, Michigan, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. These cities relied on one or two industries, and when those industries either moved or constricted, those cities were losing population. For instance, I think Detroit went from 1.5 million in 1950. Now they're not even they're about 700,000 people. So I do think that not moving forward on a moratorium doesn't foreclose on our opportunity to hear project by project. It doesn't mean that I see developers in here. Just because you have a project in the queue doesn't mean we're going to approve your zone change, your street vacation, and we've turned those down. They've gone back to the drawing board, made projects smaller, reduced square footage, put community benefit. And as Councilwoman Rogers mentioned, Mayor Pro Tem Rogers mentioned, we had an item, Measure A, an item that would tax the warehouses. And the warehouse NAIOP, they came full force on it. They sent mailers every single day. They were sending mailers out. And with everyone getting a free ballot that had free postage, they couldn't vote on that one thing, the tax the warehousing. Everybody, 8% of the population voted. So that's very disconcerting. And we did have our information on our social media page encouraging people to vote. This whole entire council supported Measure A, and I'm sure we all voted for it. But when the residents had an opportunity to tax the warehousing, they're acting like we're, the warehouses control this council or anything like that. It's not that. We have to balance numerous concerns. We have to balance the concerns of ensuring that the city receives adequate revenue. And as a middle-class California taxpayer, I'm tired of the taxes going on my back to pay for all these services that the state is implementing on us. And at the same time, we have to ensure that people have work. And I think there was a lot of disparaging of blue-collar workers. As a son of a plumber and a woman that my mother worked at the Circle K that used to be on the corner of Paris and 4th Street, and the one that used to be in Indian Hills, Enchanted Hills. And my parents were blue-collar workers, raised my brother and I in 7th Street in Paris, California. My brother went to UCR, I went to Stanford. So I think that we shouldn't disparage work, because all work is meaningful. All labor is meaningful, whether you're flipping a burger, writing a brief, constructing a building, being a police officer, any other thing like that. So I just don't think my concerns still stand with what I said in 2022. If anything, my concerns are more allayed because of the good neighbor policy and the impact study that we went through. So I just don't think it's prudent for us to move forward on a moratorium today.
Councilwoman Nava.
I just have one more quick question for staff, given that it's looking like we're not moving forward with the moratorium at the moment. Why was the industrial community solicited for this agenda and not community, or should I say, our sensitive receptors such as schools, residential neighborhoods, daycare centers, nursing homes? Why weren't they included in this conversation?
1 second here. Yes, during the last time we did the moratorium, they reached out to us. They said that any future moratorium, they would ask you to be notified. But we did post it online, and they were available for the public to be informed, and we did get 55 emails or 52 emails, so they were made aware.
Okay, thank you. And either way, I still want to, again, thank our residents who did come out and voice their concerns. And may I remind this council that not a single resident in participation tonight was in favor for continued rezones for industrial projects. And if I may add my 2 cents, that when the measure came out to vote for taxing our industrial projects to fix our roads, because again, economic benefits, right? But yet our roads are deteriorated and we need a lot of work. And again, we're funding that through, so you get my picture. But so we had this ballot on the measure. And like I said, if I may add my 2 cents for the residents who may be missing here in the room, there was confusion. Anytime you see increases of tax on the ballot, our voters get scared. They're frightened and they're worried that that's going to land on them because, again, we live in California and there's a lot of taxes that are imposed on our community. So I wanted to add that. And for those residents that are here today and are able to speak on this issue today, again, a big thank you. And I am truly disappointed that our council continues to overlook the cries and the pleas for help. So those are all my comments for tonight. Thank you.
Anybody else? Councilman Corona?
Yeah, just kind of going back to the ballot thing, because it did get brought up. It's very important to note that even with all the confusion that went on, right? Because I kept having to respond to so many people. Say, hey, I got this letter and it's saying that my taxes are going to go up, that they're going to push the taxes on me if I approve it, and that jobs are going to get cut. And I don't want to use the L word, but I'll say that facts were being exaggerated. There was a lot of exaggeration in the mail pieces from those that didn't want the measure to fail. Now, it did require 2/3, which during the off year, it would have needed that. But keep in mind, it did get majority of residents with all the confusion, right? They still supported it, and so they were. And keep in mind, it wasn't to stop the warehouses, right? It was just to say, hey, we should have them pay their fair share to improve our roads for their truck drivers, right? For their employees that use those roads, right? It wasn't going to be to fix my road in front of my house. It was meant to fix up the roads that are being destroyed by the trucks. So in my view, all the union labor that's here, it was meant for a safety issue for the people that use those roads, right? And some of those truck drivers are union labor. And they should be on a safe road. And so that was part of it. I don't want to bring that up. It's a whole different topic about, bringing that item up again. But I just want to point that out since it was brought up. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so the impact, the results of that survey, I mean, it showed, the CHG and the noise, anything over 800,000 square feet, yeah, that wasn't very good. But if you look at a 750,000 square foot, as described earlier today, would generate substantially less CHG emissions and the noise as well as compared to a 40-acre site for a shopping center or an apartment development. So what I'm trying to say is, and someone mentioned before about, there's not a lot of trucks. Yeah, you see a lot of trucks on the freeway because they're so big, but the cars do outnumber the trucks. And, we got, I think this year, our LVF funding from the vehicle license fee was $9 million, and last year was $7 million. It increased by $2 million.
Somewhere in that ballpark, yes.
Yeah, that's a lot of vehicles in the city of Paris. So that's why I wanted to make sure when we did that study that we include vehicles. It's not just all about trucks. The 55 emails, if I'm not mistaken, and my two friends are here from Riverside, we're from Riverside. We're not from Paris residents. So that's not your residents, Councilwoman Nava, reaching out to you. So what I'm saying there is that something triggered that somebody knew what was going on in our meetings, in particular from another city. We also had to, it's not easy being up here, folks, and we have to represent over 80,000 people, and we have pros and cons, and we have maybe 7, maybe 10 people here from our residents, but we have to answer to 80,000 residents, not just 10. And it's hard, and I understand. Can I have my turn, please? Can I have my turn, please? You don't even live here, sir. So let me speak now. If you'd like to be removed, just keep on disrupting me. So there's, we did a lot with going going back here, Representative. So going back to the comment made about the rezones, yes, we could probably control our rezones, but sometimes these rezones, there are reasons why there is a rezone. Sometimes it's driven by the March Joint Powers, the March Air Base, where we're restricted on what we can build. You can't, if you're in the zone, you cannot build a residential area, you cannot build a shopping center, you cannot build a church, a park, or a school. You're limited to a warehouse or a storage facility. So a lot of those warehouses are built for those reasons. And it's true, as I told some members of this community that's here now, a lot of these warehouses came to fruition during our watch, meaning they were approved prior to us even being here, and they're coming to fruition now while we're here. A lot of warehouses that I see popping up, I didn't even vote on or agree to. That came from our planning commissioners. They agreed to have or approved warehouses. As long as it's in the zone, it doesn't come to the city council. It's done at the level of the commission. But yet I have a planning commissioner here in this room who's acting as a resident at this time, talking about us approving warehouses, when a lot of them are being done at the level of the planning commission. So, you know, like again, I said, folks, please give me the time. We gave you the time and a lot of time. So anyway, I think that's all I have for now. Councilwoman Rogers, or Mayor Pro Tem Rogers?
At this time, I'd like to make a motion that we do not go forward with the moratorium at this time.
All right, I have a motion. Is there a second?
So for clarification, is this, are we just a blanket, no moratorium for anything? Is that what you're saying?
That's correct.
Including rezones, okay.
I have a second by Councilman Rabb. Councilman Nava, or Councilwoman Nava, you're back in the queue. Did you want to say something?
I just had some final comments to add regarding your comments, if I have the opportunity to do so. If not, I'll
Sure.
save them. Thank you. So I want to address the concerned residents who I believe it was 52 letters that were emailed to all of our council. They're our neighbors, and air quality doesn't know city boundaries. Truck traffic is a regional issue. And the list goes on, right? We all know the impacts that this industry has on our community and in our city and our surrounding areas. We're encroached. Our county, city of Menifee, our neighbors, they're approving these industrial projects, and we have to keep that in mind as well moving forward. This isn't a one-off issue, it's a cumulative issue. And for comments made of folks not living in the city of Paris, the industrial developers do not live in the city either. So for the record, I just wanted to go ahead and make those remarks. Thank you.
And duly noted, and it goes the other way around too. There's warehouses surrounding this community by our neighboring cities as well. You know, it's everywhere. But again, you know, these are, you know, I have two daughters in the industrial business, and they're doing very well. At any rate, we have a motion, and I have a motion by Mayor Pro Tem Rogers and a second by Councilman Rabb. Please call the vote.
Rabb, Rogers, Vargas, yes. Corona, Nava, no.
Thank you. Item 13 is our communications. All right, Council Communications, we'll start with Councilman Rabb.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Vargas. Once again, I'd like to thank all the speakers for coming out and sharing their views. We really appreciate you, and may you continue to come to the council meetings. This last Sunday, I had the opportunity to speak at First Baptist Church and give my thoughts regarding Black History Month. It was a very good presentation regarding what occurred. I think one thing we probably need to consider as a council, and I knew Temecula's considered it, one thing that we should consider as a council, I know Temecula's considered it, when council members bring an item for the full council to consider, they have to at least get a second vote to move forward on that.
Give us
Yes.
a minute, give us a minute. Okay, go ahead.
Yes. One thing I think we could consider, I know the city of Temecula had a council member that was bringing forth a lot of agenda items. And I think just given our last 3 to 4 meetings, I think we probably should look into a policy where if somebody brings something up during council communications, they would at least need a second council member to move forward on it. During my 9 years on council, I haven't seen the level of discourse at these meetings that we've had in the last 3 meetings. I think in order to probably not necessarily avoid that, but just ensure that, council's moving forward, we stick to the issues. And I'm not saying this was an issue that was relevant to the city of Paris, but I think we could get in the mirror of various other issues. So I think moving forward, I know other cities have done it. They put it in their code of conduct or their policy and procedures, that when we bring something forward, we at least need to say, maybe look at one of the council people and get a second person involved, so that there is at least a 2-person moving forward on agendas. Because I know in Temecula, they had a single council person that was bringing a lot of things that I think anybody on this council wouldn't agree with. So I think just moving forward, it would, we could stick to the issues. Thank you.
Councilman Corona.
I think I do want to thank the speakers again. I did attend the Green Farm Garden with the mayor. There's right here at their city. It's an expansion. It's a very, very nice garden, and just looking forward to the community enjoying it. I was able during my week off, right? Because I'm a teacher, but I did have the week off that the kids were so I was able to attend a lot of events that are normally held in the daytime, which normally I wouldn't be able to go to. So the senior center, I was able to join them for the for the African American history event there as well too. Got to join them and break bread with them. Excuse me. The Mother Language Day was on a Wednesday at 10 o'clock, so I was able to be there the whole entire time. And I know the mayor had meetings to go to, but I kind of just stuck around there after he did a lot at that event. Just pictures all day long. The Black History event, which was last Saturday, was a well-attended event right here on City Hall. I started actually in the morning doing a unity walk with Pastor Wells, who spoke earlier today, and members of our community as well too. So it was a well-attended event. The music was great, and the food was phenomenal. And then I got to attend the tail end of the Fish Taco Express grand opening. They relocated, so being that today was Tuesday, you guys missed out on Taco Tuesday, but just wait till next Tuesday, or go any other day. That's all the comments from me. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman Nava.
No comments for tonight, thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem.
I'd just like to thank everyone for all the prayers and well wishes I received. Today is my first day getting back in the saddle after suffering with a 2-week episode with ear infections and vertigo, and it feels good to be back on my feet. So thank you all for the well wishes and for all of the people that called or texted me out of concern. It was greatly appreciated. And, sometimes people don't agree on certain things, and that's okay. But I do think it's important that when the council speaks, that we do have the decorum in the council chambers to be heard without people yelling and screaming at us. I think when we give people respect when they come up, that we should be afforded the same courtesy. And that's just good manners, as they say, or as my grandma used to say. Thank you.
Thank you. In the interest of time, I will save my comments for our next meeting, and we'll move on to item 14, City Manager's Report.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening. The Pets on Parade will be held at Liberty Park on Saturday, March 9th from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. There will be a dog parade, a costume contest for the dogs, a kids' corner, and a lot more. You can visit the website or contact the Code Enforcement Department for more information. And lastly, the Breakfast with Bunny and Community Egg Hunt event will be hosted on Saturday, March 23rd on the Paris City Hall lawn. For more information, you can register online on civicrec.com or visit the City of Paris website. That concludes my report. Thank you.
All righty, thank you. That takes us to item 15, our adjournment. We are adjourned at 10:03 PM. Thank you, everybody, for coming, and have a safe night.